Nanshan City. At 6:30 in the evening, the sky crackled with thunder and lightning as a torrential downpour fell. Baiwa residential area. With a creak, Su-bai, drenched and with patches of scorch marks on his school uniform, opened the door in panic and bewilderment. He collapsed onto a chair. Damn. I was struck by lightning. Su-bai muttered in lingering terror, grabbed a glass of water from the table, and gulped it down in one go. Only then did his mood and thoughts calm down slightly. Su-bai was a senior high school student from Nanshan No. 3 middle school. 6 years ago, when junior high school had just started, his parents sent him through the school gates and then vanished. They never returned. All they left him was this old house in Baiwa residential area. Su-bai worked part-time to support himself, and with the few tens of thousands of yuan left by his family, he lived alone until now. There was only 1 month left until the college entrance exam. School ended early this afternoon, so Su-bai bought a yellow eel to make a nourishing eel and tofu soup at home. Unexpectedly, just as he neared home, he was struck by lightning. Good heavens, I was lucky to survive. Su-bai unbuttoned his scorched school uniform, looked down, and saw his body unharmed, and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, he noticed that he still had the yellow eel he bought in his hand. He quickly fetched a basin, pouring the water and the eel into it. The poor eel had also been struck by lightning along with Su-bai. Its originally smooth skin was now covered in patches of charred black. The eel, less than half a meter long, barely moved after falling into the basin. It was unknown whether it was alive or dead. Suddenly, Su-bai's expression froze. What's happening? He exclaimed in shock. Su-bai was astonished to discover that a new perspective had appeared in his mind. From this perspective, there was a giant. That giant was Su-bai himself. This was the perspective of the yellow eel in the basin. A strange voice also sounded in Su-bai's mind. Divine evolution system integrating. Divine evolution system. What is this? Wait, could this be a golden finger? Su-bai had read some novels before, and after a brief daze he immediately realized what was happening. I never thought I'd gain a blessing in disguise. Instead of being killed by lightning, I awakened a system. His eyes began to gleam. But what could he do with the eel's perspective? Could he watch the eel eat worms in first person? Su-bai smiled wryly, a little helpless. And what exactly was this divine evolution system? For a moment he was completely baffled. Divine evolution system integration successful. Finding host clone. Finding successful. Congratulations host, you have obtained an eel clone. A series of system prompts echoed in his mind. Su-bai soon realized that not only did he have the eel's vision, but he could also sense all of its feelings. This experience was quite novel. Moreover, just like the instinctual control of his own hand, Su-bai could effortlessly manipulate every movement of the eel clone. He hissed in pain, drawing a sharp breath. The skin of the eel clone was thoroughly charred by the lightning. Waves of scorching agony kept coming. Its stomach was also empty, constantly spitting bubbles in hunger. It was extremely weak. Su-bai quickly took out his phone and started searching. There was naturally no answer to the ridiculous question of how to treat an eel struck by lightning. However, what an eel could eat was clearly listed. Earthworms, snails, small fish, and so on could be eaten. Su-bai immediately remembered that when he bought the eel, the shopkeeper had left a handful of earthworms in the plastic bag. He quickly fetched the plastic bag and poured all 8 earthworms left at the bottom into the basin. With a thought, Su-bai manipulated the eel clone to swim toward the earthworms. In the clear water, 8 slender earthworms drifted down slowly. Their wrinkled skin was stained with mud and rosered earthworm blood. The internal intestines and organs were already broken and twisted beyond recognition. Viewing this through the eel clone's perspective, Su-bai suddenly felt nauseous. He could feel everything the eel clone felt. No way. Wouldn't that be like him eating earthworms himself? Su-bai found it hard to accept. Gurgle, gurgle. The eel clone kept spitting bubbles, and a burning hunger made Su-bai feel like he was about to faint from starvation. The eel clone sensed a hint of fragrance. It smelled as tempting as roast chicken. It was from the gulp. Su-bai involuntarily manipulated the eel clone to swallow 3 earthworms in one go. It really tasted like roast chicken. So delicious. The eel clone ate with gusto. Your clone has devoured 3 earthworms, gaining 3 evolution points. Your physical strength 0. 3. As the system prompt sounded, Su-bai was astonished to find the burnt, painful areas on the eel clone's body began to heal at a visible rate, restoring to their original state. Moreover, the eel clone, which had been less than half a meter long, grew directly to nearly 70 centimeters. At the same time, Su-bai felt a sudden surge of warmth flowing through his body. The next moment, his vision blurred with dizziness. He quickly took off his glasses. He realized his myopia had disappeared. His eyesight was exceptionally sharp. In addition, Su-bai felt a sudden increase in strength by a third. His physique had become stronger and his physical condition better. His footsteps felt lighter, his body more agile. This increase in physical strength seemed to be an overall enhancement. Su-bai's eyes lit up. The eel clone devouring things could actually earn evolution points, directly boosting all aspects of his own physical fitness. This clear feeling of getting stronger was so awesome. Subai looked down at himself with sparkling eyes. The once thin arms now had clear muscle lines. His eyes were full of wonder and excitement. His interest in this divine evolution system grew even stronger. Information panel for host and clone generating. Generation complete. The system prompt sounded. A light blue semi-transparent information panel suddenly appeared before Subai's eyes. Host Subai level 0 physical strength 4. 3 mental strength 5. Note the maximum limit for an ordinary adult is 5 points. Clone yellow eel level 0 evolution points 35. Subai stared at this information panel, his gaze falling on the last line. Could it be that when the eel clone accumulates 5 evolution points something new would happen? Curious, Subai immediately manipulated the eel clone to devour the remaining 5 earthworms. Your clone devoured 5 earthworms, gaining 5 evolution points. Your physical strength 0. 5. Warm currents surged inside Subai. He felt a sudden burst of strength all over, approximately 300 pounds of power. Originally 1.8 meters tall, he had been slightly thin, but now he had become quite strong. His body felt even lighter. Subai looked back at the basin. He saw that the eel clone had grown to nearly 1 meter in length. When it swam and swung its tail, it was extremely agile and powerful. Detected that your clone has sufficient evolution points. Host, would you like to start evolution? The evolution points were sufficient, it could actually evolve. Hearing the system prompt, Subai's spirits lifted. He immediately commanded, begin evolution. The moment his voice fell, the eel clone in the water basin suddenly burst forth with faint golden light all over its body, exuding a mysterious and astonishing aura. Under Subai's watchful gaze, the brownish-yellow eel body visibly began to swell rapidly, like an inflated balloon. In the span of a breath, it stretched from 1 meter to about 1.5 meters. Its body also thickened. In its mouth, 2 rows of fine, sharp, hook-like teeth grew out. Subai felt a sense of constraint transmitted from the clone. The small water basin was clearly no longer spacious enough for the evolved eel clone to swim and maneuver. Congratulations, host. Clone evolution successful. New clone information panel generated. Subai immediately noticed many changes in the eel clone's information. Clone giant fang eel. Level 1. Skill bite LV1. Biting an enemy target causes tearing damage and continuous bleeding damage. Combat power 10. Evolution points 320. A giant fanged eel with teeth. It can actually evolve into a creature that shouldn't exist. If I keep evolving it, perhaps one day it could become a soaring divine dragon. Subai stared intently at the panel and the eel clone in the water basin. A old folk saying coming to mind: a loach grows into a snake into a python into a flood dragon into a true dragon. Perhaps one day with this divine evolution system I could have a true dragon clone. Moreover, as the clone devours and evolves, I too will grow stronger. If the clone becomes a true dragon, how powerful would I be by then? At the thought, Subai's eyes lit up, his heart full of anticipation. He continued to read down. Not bad, the level increased by 1 and a new bite skill was added. How is this combat power of 10 determined? Subai browsed the info panel, muttering to himself. The system voice sounded again. Detected host clone's first successful evolution. Unlocking normal lottery wheel. Reward 1 normal lottery chance. Bonus a newbie gift pack for the host. Host, do you wish to open it now? Just like in a game, there's even a newbie gift pack. Subai said directly, open immediately. Congratulations. Host has obtained a 1-cubitor storage space and a monster space. Storage space, a 1-cubitor dimensional space created by the system. The host can store and retrieve items anytime with their mind. Monster space, a special dimensional space for the host to house monster clones. No matter how large the monster clone's body, it can be accommodated inside. Moreover, when a monster clone is in the space, its condition and injuries can recover faster. After reading the introductions of the 2 spaces, Subai's eyes lit up with joy. As the eel clone kept devouring various things and growing larger, not just the water basin, but eventually the entire home would be too small for it. If anyone saw it, they might take it for dissection. The huge secret of the divine evolution system would also be extremely likely to be exposed. Subai understood the principle of having a treasure invites trouble. This monster space comes just in time. The secret of the system must be buried deep in my heart, never to be told to anyone. Subai muttered, making up his mind. The storage space could hold many precious things. He was also very satisfied. Both spaces were extremely practical abilities for Subai. He looked at the eel clone in the water basin. With a thought, the 1.5 meter long brownish-yellow giant fanged eel was instantly received into the monster space. Splash! Subai sensed that a 1-acre lake had automatically formed in the space. The eel clone swam joyfully inside. A feeling of comfort and relaxation, as if returning home, immediately came through. Subai nodded inwardly. He then looked at the normal lottery wheel mentioned in the system prompt. As his eyes fell upon it, a sound akin to gears clicking and grinding immediately resonated in his ears. Whirring. Within Subai's vision, several millstone-sized spinning wheels visible only to him instantly materialized. He saw that each wheel was divided into several equal segments. On them were images of magnificent crystals, with flickering human silhouettes, various strange and mystical monster patterns, and many other mysterious and powerful things. A quick glance revealed several furious snake heads, sky-covering membrane bone wings, huge fireballs laced with thunder and lightning, and a human figure who with a wave of his hand split mountains and shattered cliffs, and a sky-covering giant hand reaching upward. One astonishing scene after another, along with things that seemed to only exist in fantasies, left Subai dazzled and deeply shocked. Are these incredible mystical things real? Subai stared at the lottery wheel and whispered his eyes. He also noticed that he could only clearly see some items on the first 3 wheels. The wheels behind were shrouded in gray mist. He couldn't even make out how many wheels there were. Finally, the other wheels quickly dissipated. Only the first one remained, a circular wheel emitting a faint golden light. At the center was a bright red, elongated pointer engraved with the number 1. One chance to spin the normal lottery wheel prepared. Host, do you wish to start the lottery? Start, Subai said immediately. His eyes fixed on the lottery wheel, his expression becoming eager and hopeful. Whirring, the bright red pointer on the circular wheel began to spin rapidly. Finally, under Subai's hopeful gaze, the pointer stopped on a baby fist-sized white crystal. Inside the crystal, blurry human figures could be seen shifting and dodging. It should be something usable by me. Subai's heart stirred. Congratulations, host. You have drawn the Dragon Country Military Combat Technique. Dragon Country Military Combat Technique, a hand-to-hand combat skill mastered by members of the Dragon Country Armament Department. Tip crush to learn. As soon as the system voice finished, Subai saw the lottery wheel turn into a beam of golden light wrapping around the white crystal and drilling into the storage space. With a thought, Subai immediately retrieved it. The white crystal landed in his palm, slightly cool. He squeezed it with a little force. With a crack, the crystal shattered instantly, directly turning into 2 pale white streams of light that drilled into Subai's slightly stunned eyes. Like 2 streaks of white light, as they entered his vision, Subai immediately felt a surge of immense memories and experiences rushing into his mind. He tightly closed his eyes, his eyelids quivering slightly. Every muscle in his body was trembling. After a moment, Subai suddenly opened his eyes wide. Countless phantoms flickered and danced in the depths of his dark eyes. After a few seconds, they gradually dimmed until they faded away. Swish! Subai's gaze became sharp and his body moved in an instant. Whoosh whoosh! In the small living room, he moved with incredible speed, throwing punches and kicks. The fierce winds howled, the momentum was overwhelming. Every move and technique was a practical and decisive strike against the enemy. If ordinary people were watching, they would surely be astounded. They would feel that merely watching Subai practice these combat moves would bring an overwhelming sense of awe. This is the military martial arts of the Dragon Country. At this moment, Subai's displayed mastery had reached an unparalleled level. Even the most elite combat instructors of the Dragon Country would be left in awe. After finishing a set, Subai stood still, astonished as he gazed at his hands, whispering softly, "Incredible! This is truly amazing. The memories of all the combat techniques in my mind, and these instinctual combat reactions that have formed muscle memory. It feels as if I've been studying this military martial art for decades. This is simply too extraordinary." Subai slightly clenched his fist, his face filled with excitement. He no longer had any doubts about the various mystical items in the lottery wheel. He envisioned colossal hands, towering figures, and terrifying snake heads. Subai's heart brimmed with infinite longing as he glanced at the plastic bag. The bag was empty. Even the earthworms had been eaten. Right? There are some dried shrimp in the fridge. I wonder if I can feed them to my yellow eel clone. Subai quickly opened the fridge and took out a small bag of dried shrimp. He grabbed 3 pieces, focused his thoughts, opened the monster space, and tossed them in. The 3 small dried shrimp, each about the length of half a finger, floated down into the water. The yellow eel clone immediately caught the scent. Subai guided it over. The 3 small dried shrimp were swallowed in one go. Your clone has consumed 3 small dried shrimp and gained 6 evolution points. Your physical strength 0. 6. 1 small dried shrimp can add 2 evolution points and 0. 2 physical strength. After the yellow eel clone consumed 3 pieces, it pushed Subai's physical strength beyond the limit of an ordinary person, reaching 5. For points, a warm current flowed through Subai's body. In that moment, he distinctly heard a bang sound from within his body, as if an invisible shackle had been suddenly. It felt as though he had been wearing a jacket that was a size too small, and now it had burst open, replaced by one that fit snugly. The sense of confinement and tension vanished in an instant, replaced by an exhilarating feeling of This inevitably made Su-bai think of the theory of gene locks. When the shackles that restrict human genes are unlocked, the infinite treasures within the body will also be revealed. His physical quality and strength began to surge, directly increasing by 150 pounds of physical power. His overall strength reached 450 pounds. With a light jump, Su-bai soared into the air. He effortlessly reached the ceiling more than 3 meters high. He landed gracefully. Su-bai slightly clenched his fist. This clear feeling of becoming stronger filled him with exhilaration. He then looked at the yellow eel clone in the monster space. The latter had grown to about 1 meter and 80 centimeters in length, swimming leisurely in the monster space. Su-bai nodded, secretly preparing to continue feeding, when suddenly, ding ding ding, the phone rang. Taking out his phone, he saw it was his childhood friend Zhou Wei calling. He answered, "Old Bai, hurry up. Those guys are back again." Ding ding dang dang. Zhou Wei's anxious voice came through the phone, accompanied by the sounds of banging, and Su-bai's gaze immediately sharpened as he responded, "They'll be there right away." Without further ado, he hung up the phone, changed into a new school uniform, and rushed out. Arriving at the entrance of the community, he hailed a taxi and headed straight for the Qingxiang night market a few kilometers away. Zhou Wei's family was a single-parent household. His father had fallen from a height while working on a construction site in his early years and passed away. His mother, Aunt Lin, worked in the Qingxiang night market every afternoon and evening, selling fried snacks to make a living. Life had not been easy. Since Su-bai's parents went missing, Aunt Lin, who had already been caring for Su-bai, had become even more attentive. Every now and then she would have Zhou Wei bring over some fruits and vegetables. During his middle school years, Su-bai spent more time at Zhou Wei's house than at his own. Aunt Lin remembered Su-bai's birthday even better than Zhou Wei's. For Su-bai, Aunt Lin was not just a relative, she was like family. Aunt Lin was straightforward, and her business practices reflected that. The fried snacks were fresh, and the oil was good and never reused. The consistent quality over the past decade made her small mobile stall more popular than many establishments in the Qingxiang night market. However, profit can tempt people. It was not uncommon for people to resort to underhanded tactics and sabotage. Recently, such incidents had escalated. Thinking of this, sitting in the back seat of the taxi, Su-bai gazed out at the retreating scenery, his eyes growing sharper and more intense. Ding dong ding dong. A melodious tune played from the car radio. Su-bai, lost in thought, was drawn back to reality by the captivating sound. Soon he heard a pleasant female voice coming from the radio. "Hello everyone. This is City Voice 128.7. Welcome to our channel. Today Xiao Yun will discuss the various strange incidents that have recently stirred up the internet. Let's give a warm welcome to the renowned biological expert Professor Guan, who is here as a guest." Strange incidents. Su-bai's attention was immediately captured by the program on the radio. This show is a well-known current affairs discussion program in Nanshan City. Today's topic is about the recent popular short videos of extraordinary people and events circulating on the internet. Listening to the program, Su-bai couldn't help but recall a few short videos he had come across. A father and son performing street magic. Flames periodically burst forth from the child's hands while the father effortlessly tossed and lifted enormous stones as if they were mere straws. Additionally, there was a video of a pedestrian walking down the street where the streetlights would flicker on and off as he... Another video showed a woman disappearing into thin air and reappearing not far away. Many of these videos were debunked by professionals and platform officials, claiming they were effects or editing tricks. The results were invariably deleted in seconds. Even if someone had recorded and backed them up, they soon found that for some unknown reason, they could no longer be opened. Today's discussion on City Voice is also about these videos. The invited biological expert elaborated on the absurdity and unreality of these videos using various data and arguments. Su-bai listened quietly, yet his brows couldn't help but furrow slightly. He felt that there was something suspicious about this expert's statements. One video's anomaly could be explained away. However, several similar videos had recently appeared in quick succession. Their fate was invariably to be thoroughly suppressed. Su-bai had seen some technical posts by editing experts confidently analyzing from various technical perspectives. None failed to confirm that these videos showed no signs of editing. The series of anomalies made Su-bai increasingly feel that something was about to happen in this world. A sense of unease began to creep into his heart. However, recalling the wonders and strengths of the divine-level evolution system, he felt slightly more at ease. No matter what, he must first become stronger. Even if the world does undergo some strange changes, he would be able to cope with it. Su-bai thought to himself. "Sigh, the world has indeed become stranger and stranger lately." The driver let out a sigh. Then he slammed on the brakes, bringing the taxi to a halt. Su-bai looked up. They had arrived at the Qingxiang night market. Around 7 or 8 in the evening, the Qingxiang night market was at its liveliest. Su-bai swiftly weaved through the bustling crowd. The cries of vendors, the cheers for acrobatic performances, the melodies of street musicians, all drifted into his ears. Without pausing, he dashed straight toward the southern gate of the night market. As soon as he stepped onto the street leading to the southern gate, he could clearly feel the crowd thinning out. Many around him were hurrying toward the south gate, chattering amongst themselves. "Hurry and see, there's a commotion at the south gate." "What's happening?" "I heard that Lin's fried skewers stall, the one on the three-wheeled cart is surrounded by over a dozen people." "Damn, such a big incident, and the night market security isn't doing anything." "Who knows, let's go take a look." Subai listened to the murmurs around him, his eyes narrowing, his gaze growing colder. He quickened his pace, sprinting southward. At the entrance of the southern gate, the street, wide enough for 2 cars to pass side by side, was packed tightly with a surging crowd. Everyone watched from a distance as a sudden conflict erupted in the center of the street. Beside the fried skewer stall, Zhou Wei, wearing the uniform of No. 3 middle school with a simple face and a sturdy build, shielded his mother behind him. His gaze trembled, his expression solemn, as he stared at the 11 tattooed thugs seated around the folding table by the stall. One of them, a man in a black vest with triangular sinister eyes, slammed the tabletop with a loud bang. His demeanor was ferocious and overbearing. He arrogantly cursed at Zhou Wei and his mother. "Damn, you're really heartless, a few bucks for fried skewers, and there's even a cockroach in them. These skewers also smell like leftover food mixed with gutter oil. Damn it, how are you running your business?" The black-vested man abruptly stood up. He grabbed a plate of fried skewers and hurled it viciously at Zhou Wei. Zhou Wei shielded his mother. The skewers from the plate scattered all over his head and face. The iron plate clattered to the ground. Zhou Wei's simple face burned with fury as he growled, "It's you people again. You've eaten for free so many times before, and my mom being kind let it slide. Now you're bringing your own cockroaches to frame us and extort money." The onlookers also began to murmur. "It's that Senga gang again. Now that they've targeted them, Lin and her son are in for a rough time." Lin Jia's son sees it clearly, but what can he do? The whole Qingxiang night market belongs to that. Sengu is just doing his dirty work. Lin and her son didn't rent a shop in the market and set up here instead, and their business is so good. It was only a matter of time before they attracted Senga's attention. Damn, this year's shop rent went up again. After a year of hard work, all our hard-earned money goes into that person's pocket. What a joke. Keep your voice down. If Senga's men hear you, they might be sitting in your shop tomorrow. Standing behind her son, Aunt Lin listened to the murmurs around her, her haggard and pale face filled with sorrow. She kept tugging at Zhou Wei's clothes, pleading repeatedly, "Away, don't say any more. We can't afford to offend these people. Stop talking." Zhou Wei protected his mother, staring at the 11 tattooed men across from him, clenching his fists as he said, "Mom, the meek are bullied. We can't back down anymore." "Ha ha ha." Sengu let out a cold laugh at this. Even though his little trick was exposed, he remained unfazed. There were no cameras at this stall. Even if it went to the police station, as long as he insisted there was a cockroach in the skewers, he would have the upper hand. Sengu was experienced in such matters. His sinister triangular eyes coldly fixed on Zhou Wei and Aunt Lin as he sneered darkly. "Using gutter oil and planting cockroaches in the food, and you still think you're in the right? If you don't cough up 1,000 yuan for mental damages today, us 11 brothers will tear down this shady shop." As soon as he finished speaking, the 10 tattooed underlings behind Sengu immediately stood up. The frail Aunt Lin shrank back, terrified, staring at the menacing thugs before her. Her heart and face were filled with bitterness. 100,000 yuan. For her family, it meant selling everything they had. Moreover, she knew well that if she paid today, it would never end. It would be an endless pit. Zhou Wei's simple face flushed red with stubbornness as he roared in anger, "Dream on." Moreover, she knew well that if she paid today, it would never end. It would be an endless pit. Zhou Wei's simple face flushed red with stubbornness as he roared in anger, "After we destroy this shady shop, I want to see if your little brat's bones are still this hard. And forget about doing business here. We'll be visiting every day. I'm curious how long you can last, huh?" The 10 tattooed thugs behind Sengu immediately sprang into action. With loud crashes and bangs, they grabbed folding chairs and tables, smashing the stall and the glass display case of fried skewers into pieces. The shattering glass sent the crowd into panicked screams. Yet no one dared to step forward to intervene. They all knew the background of Senga's boss, and everyone had to weigh the risk of getting involved. Zhou Wei, standing 2 meters tall and quite sturdy, charged forward in fury but was brutally pushed back and kicked to the ground. He could hold off 1, maybe 2, but he couldn't fight 3. 3 burly tattooed men surrounded him, punching and kicking. Their strikes were vicious and experienced, causing Zhou Wei excruciating pain, yet leaving no obvious marks on his body. Aunt Lin rushed over to shield her son. She took a few punches and kicks herself before the 3 tattooed men finally "Stop smashing. Please stop, Wu." She looked tearfully at the utterly destroyed stall, then at her son, drenched in cold sweat from the pain. She wept uncontrollably. Gently closing her trembling eyelids, she parted her pale, quivering lips, and with a hoarse voice spoke with immense difficulty. Fine. Will pay. He'll give you the money. Silence fell over the surround. The faces of the onlookers showed pity and sadness. Yet they were all too afraid to voice their anger against Sengo's actions. In the center, Sengo let out a smug cold laugh. Stop. His underlings immediately halted and retreated to his side. Sengo looked down coldly at Zhou Wei and his mother sneering darkly. Why didn't you say so earlier? It's such a small matter. If money can solve it, is it even a problem? Sengo crouched down patting Zhou Wei's pained pale face and chuckled lightly. Being obedient is so much better. Why force me to be the bad guy? With that he leisurely returned to his stool, sat down, and crossed his legs comfortably, speaking coldly, My time is precious. Stop stalling. Hand over the money now. Suddenly, none of you will walk out of here standing today. A cold, indifferent voice rang out sharply from behind the crowd. Sengo and his men along with the gathered onlookers turned their gazes toward the back of the crowd. A flicker of joy lit up Zhou Wei's face at the sound of that voice. Aunt Lin's face, however, was etched with deep concern. The crowd gradually parted, making way for a passage. A slender youth in a school uniform with delicate features strode in with long, confident steps. It was none other than Subai. A slight stir rippled through the watching crowd at the sight of him. Who is this kid? Someone murmured. He looks familiar, seems to be a classmate of Sister Lin's son. I've seen him at the stall before. Such youthful bravado. By offending Sengo and his crew right away, he's bound to suffer too. Alas, it seems this affair will not end peacefully today. Unfazed by the whispers around him, Subai strode directly toward Zhou Wei and his group. Sengo sat upright, sneering with contempt. So this is the big shot we were expecting. How would a big mouth? Turns out it's just another snot-nosed brat. The 10 tattooed thugs behind Sengo burst into raucous laughter, echoing his words. Subai paid them no heed, walking straight up to Aunt Lin and Zhou Wei. Child, why are you here? You shouldn't have waded into this mess. Aunt Lin said, her face full of worry as she looked at Subai. Subai noticed the fist and shoe prints on Zhou Wei and Aunt Lin, then swept his gaze over the shattered, chaotic stall. He clenched his fists. The cold fury and rage deep within his eyes surged even more violently. Meeting Aunt Lin's caring gaze, he said warmly, I'm sorry, Aunt Lin, for being late. Old bite. Zhou Wei struggled to his feet, his face pale and drenched in cold sweat from the pain in his chest. Old Bai, you were right. They had ill intentions last time they came. This time let's take them on together. He was cut off mid-sentence as Subai raised a hand to stop him. Subai patted his good brother on the shoulder. Don't worry, Wei. Leave the rest to me. With that, Subai stood up and turned to face Sengo and the others. He suppressed the anger raging within him, choosing not to strike first. He knew well that fighting men like Sengo required more than brute force. Over on Sengo's side, he was already displeased at being ignored by Subai. Now hearing the exchange between Subai and the others, a cold sneer twisted his lips. He cracked his knuckles, his eyes fixed on Subai with a vicious glare. Leave it to you. Huh? How do you plan to handle it, you little brat? Do you even have 100,000 yuan? What? Listen here, you little punk. Since I'm in a good mood today, I'll give you a chance. Sang Dog spread his legs and pointed to his crotch, laughing arrogantly. Crawl right under your grandpa Sang's legs, and you can walk away from here unscathed today. Otherwise, I'll tear that mouth of yours apart. The 10 tattooed thugs behind him all burst into jeering laughter. Sighs rippled through the surrounding crowd. Zhou Wei and Aunt Lin, supporting each other, struggled to stand and moved to Subai's side. They were about to speak, but Subai stopped them. Though angered by Sengo's words, Subai merely gave a calm, faint smile, his face betraying nothing. He cast a sidelong glance at Sengo and his men. Within his icy gaze seethed a torrent of fury. The faint, murderous aura he exuded sent an involuntary chill down the spines of the 11 tattooed thugs. Stumbling back, Sengo and his men stepped back in unison. The bizarre scene plunged the area into a dead silence. To Subai, whose physical strength surpassed human limits, and who was proficient in the Dragon Nation's military combat techniques, Sengo and his ilk were no more than chickens and dogs. As long as he was in the right, he could deal with them easily. He pondered for a moment, then spoke with a light, indifferent smile. Sengo, we'll give you a chance to. Right now, take all your men, kneel before my Aunt Lin, and count out 10 times. Then pay up 200,000, and I'll let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, not one of you 11 will leave this Qingxiang night market standing today. Su Bei's clear, indifferent voice echoed slowly through the scene. Sengo was so enraged he laughed. Screw you, you little bastard. You're asking for it. Get him. Break his legs. The 10 burly tattooed men immediately advanced on Subai in a wide circle. Among the onlookers, sighs were endless. Oh, this kid's just making things worse. These youngsters, they don't know their place until they've faced the real world. Shooting his mouth off with empty boasts, bragging without batting an eye. With that attitude, he's in for a world of hurt. A severe beating is guaranteed. If Sister Lin had just paid up, it would have been settled. But now he's gone, and angered Sang-go and his men. Well, it's all over now. The 10 thugs quickly surrounded him. Su Bei's eyes glinted with cold light as he watched them close in. He had been waiting for them to make the first move. A murderous aura blazed in Su Bei's eyes. Under the anxious gazes of Zhou Wei and Aunt Lin, he stepped forward, shielding them behind him. You little bastard. He'll cripple you. 2 tattooed thugs snarled, charging ahead. From left and right, 2 heavy fists whistled towards Su Bei's face. Old Bai, watch out. Zhou Wei shouted a warning from behind. Su Bei's expression remained utterly calm. He spread his hands, blocking in front of him. 2 crisp slaps rang out. The heavy blows, powerful enough to shatter an ordinary man's nose bridge, were effortlessly intercepted by Su Bai. Everyone present froze in shock at the sight. In the next instant, Su Bei's hands, like steel vices, suddenly clamped onto the right fists of the 2 thugs and twisted them in the opposite direction. Crack! Crack! The sickening sound of breaking bones erupted abruptly in the scene. Ah, my hand! The 2 ox-like tattooed men howled in agony. Everyone immediately saw their right fists bent at a grotesque, horrifying angle. The sight was enough to send chills down anyone's spine. You son of a... Go to hell. The 2 thugs cursed through their pain. But before they could finish, Su Bei's attack cut them short. Thud! Thud! 2 powerful kicks slammed into their chests. The 2 burly men, each weighing at least 180 jin, were sent flying backward like rubber balls, landing 3 to 4 meters away. Crashing into several tables and stools, they collapsed weakly to the ground, passing out from the pain on the spot. For a moment, the only sound in the dead silence was the faint whisper of the wind. Su Bai loosened his muscles and bones, then looked at the stunned Sang-go and the remaining 8 thugs. The 9 men shuddered in unison at the sound of his voice. They glanced at their 2 unconscious companions on the ground, then back at the unharmed Su Bai. Disbelief was etched on every single face. After a brief moment of stunned silence, the crowd erupted into a frenzy. How is this possible? 2 men weighing 180 jin each, and in less than a single exchange their hands are broken and they're kicked that far. This kid is incredibly strong. Wow, Sang-go and his men have bitten off more than they can chew. This kid looks young, but he's clearly a trained... Amidst the murmurs, many stall owners began to cheer in hushed tones. They had endured exploitation and oppression for too long, and now looking at Su Bai, their eyes shone with excitement. Hearing the surrounding noise, Sang-go snapped back to reality. He glared at Su Bai with a dark expression. He knew that today he had to firmly suppress this thorny newcomer. Otherwise, no one in Qingxiang night market would ever respect or fear them again. Bang! Sang-go grabbed a folding stool and roared. Damn it, I don't believe all of us can't take down one little punk. Get 'em, all of you. Cripple this little bastard. With a clatter of metal, the 8 thugs immediately pulled steel pipes from their sleeves or grabbed nearby folding stools, converging on Su Bai from all sides. Su Bai saw that the group of thugs did not flee, but instead charged forward, causing a cold smile to appear on his face. This was exactly what he desired. Zhou Wei called out from behind with some worry, Old Bai. Su Bai, without turning back, instructed, I'll wait, take good care of Aunt Lin. With that, his gaze sharpened. Deep in his eyes, fury and cold light surged like tidal waves. His whole body seemed to explode forth like a leopard on the hunt, seeking death. The surrounding burly men cursed angrily, swinging their steel pipes and folding chairs at Su Bai with all their might. The wind howled with intensity. 5 steel pipes and 3 folding chairs came crashing down in an instant. Su Bai narrowed his eyes slightly. He did not evade at all. Instead, he charged straight ahead. The 8 tattooed thugs were delighted to see that Su Bai was facing them head-on. Their eyes gleamed with malice, as if they could already envision Su Bai falling to the ground in a pitiful state. The smiles on the faces of the 8 men grew increasingly sinister. They mercilessly put all their strength into their attacks. In an instant, the steel pipes whistled through the air. Folding chairs came crashing down, accompanied by a fierce gust of wind. Just as all the attacks were about to land, Su Bei's tall and strong figure erupted like a predatory leopard. His right leg swept out like a shadow, striking fiercely. Bang, clang, clang. Sharp cracking sounds echoed instantly around. Everyone was utterly shocked to see that the 5 steel pipes, as thick as a baby's arm, along with the 3 folding chairs, were all swept away and broken by Su Bei's single kick. Shattered steel pipes and folding chair fragments scattered across the ground. The 8 tattooed thugs widened their eyes as if frozen in place, staring blankly at the ground. They looked in disbelief at the broken weapons in their hands. Then, with expressions of sheer terror, they glanced at the unscathed Su Bai before them. What the hell? A single kick broke the steel pipes and folding chairs. Is this guy's leg made of alloy steel? If that kick lands on a person, is there even a chance of survival? This is insane, right? How can we fight? Countless terrified thoughts surged in the minds of the 8 tattooed thugs. The dog-like figure lurking behind the crowd widened his eyes in astonishment, as if they were about to pop out at any moment. He silently stopped in his tracks. He began to retreat quietly. However, he shouted angrily, "Charge! All of you charge!" The command from the dog-like figure snapped the 8 tattooed thugs back into action. "Damn it, take him down! Charge!" they shouted, rallying themselves before rushing towards Subai again. Subai let out a cold laugh. With a push of his foot, his figure darted out like a ghost, his fist striking out like arrows released from a bow. Bang bang. He sent 2 thugs flying 3 to 4 meters away. Then Subai ducked low, avoiding 3 punches and 2 kicks. Just as he dodged the attacks, he leaped up fiercely. He delivered a solid kick to the chests of the 2 men on his right. Crack crack. Sounds of breaking ribs resounded sharply. The 2 men were sent flying over 4 meters, their faces pale as snow. Only 4 remained. Seeing their brothers incapacitated, the remaining 4 felt their hearts race in panic. With no hesitation, Subai charged forward. He delivered 2 slaps that knocked down the 2 burly men to the ground. He then sprinted a few steps to catch up with the last 2 who were attempting to flee. Grabbing one by the neck in each hand, he slammed them down onto the ground. The entire sequence took no more than a few seconds. However, all 10 tattooed thugs brought by the dog-like figure were lying on the ground, howling in pain. This scene left the entire crowd in stunned silence. Moments later, the onlookers erupted into chaos. This is too absurd. What absurdity! This is completely unbelievable. Look at this young man, he can't be that old yet. He is so strong. Not just strong, he's incredibly powerful. 10 burly men couldn't withstand 5 moves in this young man's hands. In just a matter of seconds, they all fell to the ground. This is terrifying. Even if I usually catch 10 chickens, I can't be as fast as he is. And this young man is completely unscathed, not even a wrinkle in his clothes. How terrifying is that? Everyone watched Subai in disbelief, whispering in astonishment. Subai raised an eyebrow, looking at the dog-like figure who had retreated 5 or 6 meters, and smiled faintly. Dog-like figure, weren't you very arrogant just now? Why are you silent now? It looks like you're planning to run away with your tail between your legs. The dog-like figure turned around with a dark expression. Looking at his subordinates sprawled on the ground, he felt as if he had entered the Arctic, a chill creeping into his heart. How could he continue? In the blink of an eye, all of his subordinates had been taken down. Damn it. Even if there were 10 of me, I couldn't beat this fierce man. I just wanted to extort some money and ended up encountering such a tough opponent. Today is truly unlucky. As the dog-like figure felt a chill in his heart, a fierce expression appeared on his face like a cornered dog baring its teeth. He pulled out his phone, shouting with false bravado, "You better not. With a single call, I can summon a whole truck of Can you take on 10? Can you take on 100? Subai crossed his arms, calmly sneering. Go ahead, call your... You'll see whether your brothers arrive faster or my fists do. Perfect timing to call for help to collect your corpse. Damn it, he had a point. I was left speechless. The dog-like figure's eyes flickered with increasing ferocity. You little brat, his low, gloomy words seemed to be squeezed out between his teeth. Saying this, the dog-like figure pressed a few keys, and then turned his phone to show Subai. You better not. Don't make me call the security bureau. I came here to have a meal with my brothers, and now I've found a cockroach in it. When the security bureau arrives, even if you shout till your throat is hoarse, I will be in the right. Little brat, just wait to eat prison food. Oomph. The dog-like figure sneered, angrily glaring at Subai, as if he had completely grasped the situation. Hearing this rogue's threat to call the police, Subai couldn't help but snort coldly. He nonchalantly walked towards the dog-like figure. Seeing Subai's movement, the dog-like figure jumped back, as if electrocuted. Stop. You. Stop right there. I really did. Don't make me. Sango, his eyes bloodshot, let out a hysterical scream, only to be met with Subai's profoundly mocking smile. Subai raised a hand towards Sango and said, Go ahead, press it. Just call the security bureau directly. I think you've forgotten how thick your criminal record is there. As for me, Subai paused, straightened his jacket, and smiled calmly. I'm young and started learning early, and as luck would have it, I haven't exceeded the age limit. What nonsense about being young? Which youth could knock down 10 strong men in less than a dozen seconds, and still within the age limit? How could anyone compete with that? Damn it. At that moment, Sango's eyes were filled with utter despair. Subai stared at him coldly, delivering the final blow. There are all your men on the ground along with all these steel pipes and folding stools. Evidence is everywhere. And you guys struck first. According to the laws of the Dragon Kingdom, when facing violent acts that seriously endanger safety, self-defense does not constitute excessive defense. That is the right of unlimited self-defense. Coincidentally, that's exactly our situation right now. Subai looked directly at Sango. His tone was calm, but every word pierced into Sango's vital heart like a blade. At that moment, Sango's heart was filled with despair. He felt like a mosquito that had flown into a spiderweb, completely ensnared by Subai with no strength to resist. Stronger than you. And smarter too. He could spout all that Dragon Kingdom law nonsense at the drop of a hat. How the hell could anyone compete with that? Sango's heart sank into the abyss. His legs gave way and he collapsed onto the ground. All the onlookers immediately burst into an uproar. Good heavens, this young lad is truly capable. Indeed, he's formidable. With just a few moves he knocked Sango and his men to the ground, and his words were reasoned and logical. He has Sango completely under his thumb, not daring to utter a single word. He's got him wrapped around his finger. Sango's crew had it coming, they deserve this. This young man has avenged us all. You said it. Behind them. Seeing Subai take down all those thugs in a few moves and silence Sango, with just a few words, Zhou Wei and Aunt Lin finally let out the breath they had been holding. Subai walked up to Sango. Sango, slumped in defeat on the ground, saw Subai's shadow enveloping him. He also saw his men lying everywhere, groaning in pain. Trembling with terror, Sango quickly looked up, wanting to beg for mercy. But before he could utter a word, Subai, staring at him coldly, suddenly delivered 2 slaps. 2 sharp cracks exploded in the air. With a loud thud, Sango, powerless to resist, was knocked to the ground. His pupils were unfocused stars swimming before his eyes, and a relentless ringing filled his ears. His already gaunt face instantly swelled up like a red pig's head. Sango struggled to get up, but collapsed again and again. Dizzy and with ringing ears, he shook his head. Gradually his consciousness and senses returned. The intense burning pain on his face made him gasp and cry out in agony. Hiss huff. Soon Sango felt a sticky, sweet, and metallic taste in his mouth, along with a disturbing sensation. Involuntarily, he opened his mouth. With a clatter, bright red viscous blood mixed with 7 or 8 broken teeth spilled onto the ground. Sango's pupils dilated in shock. Fear and horror filled his eyes. Footsteps sounded. Subai was approaching. To Sango's ears, those footsteps sounded like the death knell of the Grim Reaper. He no longer had his previous arrogant demeanor. Now he struggled to crawl away, desperate to put as much distance as possible between himself and the demon Subai. In his heart, Sango was consumed with regret. Why? Why did this happen? Had he not checked the almanac today, doomed to face such misfortune? Trying to extort money, he had kicked such an iron plate. Sango struggled and backed away, but it was all in vain. Subai walked up, grabbed him by the neck with one hand, and lifted him up. 2 more slaps shattered another 4 or 5 of Sango's teeth. Holding Sango aloft, Subai made him look around, and said coldly, Sango, open your dog eyes, and take a good look. My Aunt Lin just wanted to run a small business peacefully, but you had to injure her son. Push her to this state. Sorry, I was wrong. Sango's face turned bright red. Overwhelmed by a terrifying sense of suffocation and fear, he begged incessantly, please, little brother, spare me, please. Subai let out a cold, "Heh," looked Sango straight in the eyes, and said in a chilling tone, I, Subai, am a very reasonable man. Whoever dares to make my Aunt Lin suffer, I will repay them 10-fold or 100-fold. I've remembered all 11 of you. If there's a next time, I guarantee you'll spend the rest of your lives in a wheelchair. Subai's fierce words silenced the entire scene. The 10 tattooed thugs who had been lying on the ground moaning suddenly fell silent. Each one was too terrified to even breathe. Sango, held aloft by Subai, felt a bone-chilling coldness shoot from his tailbone straight to the top of it. He nearly wet his pants on the spot. With a bang, Subai threw Sango, who was like a dead dog, onto the... Then he said coldly, all 11 of you. Now go before my Aunt Lin and count out 10 times sincerely to apologize and admit your fault. And immediately scrape together 200 in compensation and hand it over. As soon as he finished, Sango and his 10 underlings scrambled to their feet and hurried over to Aunt Lin. All 11 knelt before Aunt Lin, kowtowing and apologizing incessantly, their foreheads thudding loudly on the ground. The scene startled Aunt Lin. She stepped back slightly in fear. Zhou Wei's simple face beamed with sheer. He gave Subai a thumbs up from afar and quickly steadied his mother. The surrounding crowd, witnessing this, felt both shocked and immensely relieved. The 10 kowtows were soon finished. Sango and his men crawled on their hands and knees to Subai, their foreheads bloodied, afraid that not being sincere enough would incur the demon's wrath again. Led by Sango, the 11 men emptied their entire savings to barely scrape together 200, which they transferred to Subai. After everything was done, they all looked at Subai with pleading eyes, yearning for him to let them go. Subai swept his gaze over them, and a flicker of light suddenly flashed in. Subai spotted the 3 tattooed burly men who had beaten up Zhou Wei and Aunt Lin earlier. His gaze fixed firmly on them. The 3 stout men, sensing Subai's stare, felt a sudden jolt of fear. Their bodies trembled uncontrollably, as if drenched by an icy downpour. Little brother, is there anything else? Can we leave now? Sango asked, his heart pounding with anxiety. Subai looked at Sango and smiled faintly. Don't rush, Sango. If you can't discipline your men, I'll do it for you. With that, Subai pointed at the 3 burly men and said calmly, "You 3, which hand did you use to hit my brother and Aunt Lin? Pick up something from the ground and cripple it yourselves." Then Subai turned back to Sango. "Sango, you can't even control your own men. Don't you think you bear responsibility?" Hearing Subai's words, Sango's face turned as pale as paper. He dared not hesitate, his swollen face twisted in a grimace as he replied with a lisp, I do bear responsibility." Subai smiled and nodded slightly, patting Sango's shoulder lightly. "Good. Now start slapping yourself, and don't stop until I say so." With a series of sharp slaps, Sango, not daring to argue, immediately began striking his own face. Subai then turned his gaze to the 3 tattooed men. The 3 men didn't even dare to think of resisting. Without a word, they picked up broken steel pipes from the ground and gritted their teeth. After only a moment's hesitation, they fiercely smashed the pipes against their own right hands. A series of cracking sounds followed, and one of them let out a piercing scream of agony. The other thugs witnessing this felt a chill of fear, but also a secret relief that it wasn't them. After breaking their right hands, the 3 men grimaced in pain, cold sweat streaming down their faces. Subai glanced at them and immediately saw that the injuries would require surgery and at least 6 months of recovery to heal completely. He nodded to himself and waved at Sango, who was still slapping his own face. "Stop. Take your men and—" "Okay." Sango's face was now even more swollen. Hearing Subai's words, he felt as if he had received a pardon. He quickly bowed in gratitude and led his limping men out. The crowd parted to make way. Subai watched Sango and his men stagger away, feeling a surge of sadness. He clenched his fist, keenly aware of the vast difference between his current self and his former self. In the past, even 10 of him wouldn't have been a match for these thugs. Subai could hardly imagine how miserable today would have been without his eel avatar or the awakening of the divine evolution system. He would have surely been brutally beaten. Not only would Aunt Lin's stall have been destroyed, but she would also have had to scrape together another 100,000 yuan. But now, through his eel avatar and the divine evolution system, Subai possessed a physical strength far beyond human limits, along with flawless proficiency in Longwa military combat techniques. The combination of these two was far more powerful than mere addition. Subai had enough strength and confidence to easily crush even twice as many thugs as Sango's gang. After Sango and his men had left, cheers erupted from the watching crowd. "Well done. Finally someone taught those scumbags a lesson. This kid is handsome too. The more I look, the more I like him. I wonder if he's single. Aunt Liang, he looks like he's still in school. You're already thinking of matchmaking. That's too fast." Laughter rang out. "Kid, you need to be careful too. The person behind Sango has considerable power. He owns the entire Qingxiang night market. Compared to him, Sango and his men are just hired thugs." The crowd gathered around, voices of discussion, praise, and well-meaning warnings filling the air. Some even tried to interrogate Subai as if conducting a household survey, genuinely wanting to play matchmaker. Subai smiled wryly, feeling overwhelmed. After a few brief responses, he helped Zhou Wei and Aunt Lin pack up and leave. They only took the tricycle, leaving the shattered tables and chairs behind. On the way, Aunt Lin kept scrutinizing Subai, asking if he was hurt anywhere. Only after repeatedly confirming that Subai was unharmed did she finally relax. Zhou Wei, meanwhile, kept exclaiming in awe at Subai's impressive display of skill. The 3 of them first went to the hospital. Subai spent 10,000 yuan to give Zhou Wei and Aunt Lin full-body checkups. Only after confirming that neither had any serious issues did he feel completely at ease. In high spirits, they dined out for the first time in a while. The restaurant was small, but its Sichuan cuisine was authentic and reasonably priced. They ordered Mao Shui Wang spicy diced chicken, a stir-fried vegetable, and a tomato and egg soup. Before long, all the dishes were served. In the Mao Shui Wang, covered with a layer of fragrant red chili oil, a generous array of ingredients was clearly visible: silky, smooth duck blood, tender and slender enoki mushrooms, crisp and fresh beef tripe and stomach. Bean curd sheets and ham sausage were also essential. Each ingredient was plentiful and varied. With one chopstick, he scooped up bean curd sheets, duck blood, enoki mushrooms, along with 2 pieces of tripe and stomach soaked in rich broth. Fresh from the pot, it was still steaming hot. The aroma of chili and Sichuan pepper wafted up. The moment it entered his mouth, a burst of spicy, savory flavor exploded on his palate, mingling with the delicious taste of the ingredients. The intense fragrance of Sichuan pepper rushed straight to his nose and head. Continuous sounds of shuhu shuhu filled the air as he gasped from the heat, his mouth watering. Then in the next moment, the tender duck blood, crisp tripe and stomach, and chewy enoki mushrooms and bean curd sheets unleashed a rich medley of flavors in his mouth. Paired with the spicy and numbing broth, this bite of food was utterly irresistible, leaving him craving more. After a few chews and swallows, he found a thin layer of sweat forming on his back. His entire body felt invigorated and refreshed, leaving a lingering aftertaste. The second dish, spicy diced chicken, was equally authentic. The chicken was fragrant, spicy, and flavorful, perfect with rice. At the table, Zhou Wei dove into the food, without a word, eating ravenously. The sounds of his chewing and swallowing echoed nonstop, showing just how hungry he was. Aunt Lin didn't touch her chopsticks. She looked at her son and gave him a crisp flick on the forehead. Eat, 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 you silly boy, that's all you know how to do. How did I end up with such a foolish son? If it weren't for Bayer, tonight the two of us would be sleeping on the street. Humph, our Bayer is the capable one. Zhou Wei rubbed his head pitifully and gave his mother a silly grin. Aunt Lin sighed in exasperation. She picked up a piece of vegetable with her chopsticks and placed it in Zhou Wei's bowl. Eat more vegetables. All you ever do is eat meat. You'll eat us out of house and home. You're driving me crazy. Zhou Wei chuckled foolishly while continuing to devour his rice. Aunt Lin's face showed a look of frustration, as if disappointed in him. But when she turned to Su Bai, her expression softened immediately. She kept picking up the best pieces like duck blood and tripe and placing them in his bowl. Bayer, you're too thin. Eat more. Eat more so you can grow strong and healthy. Su Bai smiled brightly and placed a piece of duck blood in Aunt Lin's bowl. Aunt Lin, don't just keep putting food in our bowls, you should eat too. Our Bayer is so thoughtful. Aunt Lin's face lit up with a smile, her wrinkles softening. Zhou Wei, still eating, turned his head and saw this scene, grinning foolishly. Aunt Lin ate a few bites before setting down her chopsticks. She watched Su Bai and Zhou Wei eating with their heads down, a warm and peaceful smile spreading across her face. Su Bai finished his bowl of rice in a few bites and suddenly remembered something. Su Bai thought about the 200,000 given by Sang Go and his men, with less than 190,000 left. He calculated in his mind, then spoke. Aunt Lin, just now Sang Go and his men gave me 200,000 as compensation for the stall. Let's go rent a shop later so you won't have to endure the wind and sun. They'll also get you an electric tricycle, so it'll be easier for you to get around. If there's time, we can go to the mall and buy some new things for the house. Your and all Weiss bedding and straw mats have been used for so many years. They're in terrible condition. They should have been replaced long ago. There are also many old items like that electric fan that clatters and clanks when it runs. It used to short circuit and shock people. It's a safety hazard. This time I'll replace everything for you. Aunt Lin quickly waved her hand and shook her head, speaking earnestly. No, Bayer, you can't do this. You can't waste so much money. Keep it for yourself to use for college later. Everything at home is still usable. Why replace them for no reason? Tomorrow morning you'll go to the flea market to get some tables and chairs, restock some vegetables, and set up the fried skewer stall again. Don't bother renting a shop. That's just wasting rent every day. Su Bai smiled gently and said no more, planning to just go ahead and arrange everything for Aunt Lin later. The increase in his physical strength also made Su Bai's appetite much larger. Just as he was about to go for a second bowl of rice, suddenly, he noticed that the meat dishes like mao shuang and spicy chicken on the table had been left untouched. The tall and sturdy Zhou Wei was eating silently, savoring the plate of vegetables and tomato egg soup with great relish. Su Bai felt a warmth in his heart. Away, Aunt Lin says you're simple-minded, and you really are. Why aren't you eating all these good dishes? They'll get cold if you don't. Don't dawdle, take this. Su Bai scolded with a smile, picking up a large piece of duck blood and tripe and putting it into Zhou Wei's bowl. Aunt Lin smiled kindly, sitting by and watching the two eat messily. After a moment, as if thinking of something, she suddenly frowned. Aunt Lin, what's wrong? Su Bai picked up a piece of spicy chicken for her and asked. On her weathered face with slightly graying temples, a look of worry emerged. Bayer, although Sang Go was driven away by you today, I heard from the neighbors at Qingxiang Night Market that the big boss behind Sang Go has considerable influence. You need to be careful when going to and from school. If anything happens, call Ao Wei. Also, the college entrance exam is coming up soon. Ao Wei's grades are poor, so he'll probably only get into a vocational college. Your grades are good. If you need help with anything, let Ao Wei handle it. Focus on your review and aim for a good undergraduate program. Aunt Lin rambled on, covering everything. Su Bai showed no impatience, listening, earnestly nodding in agreement. Zhou Wei meanwhile happily ate his rice, occasionally letting out a silly chuckle. After eating, Su Bai first took Aunt Lin and Zhou Wei home. Then on a street near the south gate of Qingxiang Night Market, he found a decently bright and spacious shop. He paid 150,000 renting it for a full year. Then he rode the old broken-down human-powered tricycle to sell it for scrap. He spent 5,000 to buy an electric tricycle with a rain cover. Finally, Su Bai rushed to the mall just before closing time. He swiped 15,000 to buy 2 air conditioners, a set of kitchen utensils, 4 sets of bedding and straw mats, and a series of other items. Loaded with large and small bags, he rode back to Aunt Lin's house with the air conditioner installation workers. Like Su Bai's home, the mother and son's place was a small apartment in an old neighborhood. It was bought years ago by Aunt Lin, scrimping and saving with the compensation money from Zhou Wei's father. Zhou Wei opened the door. When he saw Su-bai carrying in large bags and small parcels followed by 2 air conditioner installers, the honest, burly man was completely stunned. The air conditioners were installed in the 2 bedrooms. Su-bai also set up the kitchen utensils. He replaced Aunt Lin's bedding with new ones. He also took out the shop contract and the keys to the electric tricycle and handed them to Aunt Lin. Aunt Lin, who had worked hard all her life, complained about Su-bai wasting money, but her eyes involuntarily reddened. In the end, with 2,000 left, Su-bai quietly pressed 1,000 under Aunt Lin's pillow before saying goodbye and leaving. Tonight the sky was clear. Stars twinkled. Walking home on the night road, Su-bai smiled brightly. With a thought, the image from the monster space appeared in his mind. The eel avatar, about 1.8 meters long, was swimming back and forth contentedly. Su-bai thought about the events of the night and the changes in himself, his eyes shining with anticipation. He looked forward even more to the powers and functions of the eel avatar and the divine evolution system. He quickened his pace. It was already 10 o'clock when Su-bai arrived at the entrance of his neighborhood. Among the street shops beside the main gate, only a 24-hour convenience store was still open. Su-bai went in and bought 5 cans of dried shrimp that he had previously fed to the eel avatar. As he walked out of the store, the night wind blew in gusts. From somewhere in the night sky, a thick cloud drifted over, completely obscuring the bright moonlight and starlight. Su-bai entered the neighborhood gate. In the deep night, the old neighborhood's broken streetlights flickered on and off. With a crackling sound of a short circuit, the entire road plunged into darkness. The property management of this old neighborhood really doesn't care. Su-bai muttered helplessly. As he walked, he occasionally kicked small stones. From the shadows on both sides came the eerie meowing of cats. Pairs of green cat eyes shone like ghostly flames in the dark night, unsettling the soul. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. A sudden chill crept into the blowing night wind. Something was off. Su-bai frowned slightly, scanning both sides, his heart on high alert. Meow, meow, meow. The surrounding cat cries grew sharp and piercing. Suddenly, Su-bai stopped and his gaze toward the front also tightened. In the middle of the road, 5 or 6 meters ahead, 3 large black cats had appeared. Their paws extended sharp, long claws. They stared at Su-bai with eerie cat eyes, scratching the floor tiles with their claws. Su-bai tilted his head. Out of the corner of his eye, he keenly noticed. 5 or 6 meters behind him, 3 patterned stray cats had also appeared on the road, seemingly out of nowhere. Meow, meow. The cat cries echoed around like demonic sounds. One by one, stray cats emerged from the darkness on both sides of the road, prowling around Su-bai. In just a few moments, Su-bai was surrounded by more than a dozen stray cats. These cats gave him a dangerous feeling, as if he were facing a pack of wolves. On the dim path of Baiwa residential complex, Su-bai stood in the middle of the road, his face full of vigilance. Not far around him, over a dozen feral cats prowled like a pack of wolves, encircling him completely. Pairs of turquoise cat eyes were all fixed intently on Su-bai. Some padded on silent, ghost-like steps, weaving through the darkness without a sound. Others crouched still in place, constantly licking their limbs from which sharp, elongated claws had already. In those dozen or so deep, ghastly green cat eyes lingered a swirling, unbroken brutality and greed. The moment Su-bai met their gaze, his heart jolted in alarm. This was the greed of a hunter facing its prey. These feral cats actually intended to hunt him. Su-bai instantly recalled the strange incidents happening across the country that he had seen on his phone recently. Damn it. It seems this world really is undergoing some unknown, extraordinary changes. Not only are some people mutating, even these animals are becoming abnormal. Su-bai muttered curses under his breath, his senses on high alert. His gaze toward the feral cats turned increasingly cold and fierce. Over a dozen feral cats hunting a human like a wolf pack. In the past, that would have been an absolute joke. But for Su-bai at this moment, it was anything but laughable. He lightly flicked his toe, lifting a tree branch as thick as an adult's arm from the ground, and gripped it tightly. His alert, murderous gaze swept the surroundings. Muscles bulged. His body arched slightly. His tall, robust frame was ready to unleash a thunderous strike at any moment. The 3 large black cats blocking the path ahead keenly sensed the shift in Su-bai's aura. Meow. The 3 cats waited no longer, letting out a synchronized cry. In the next moment, the dozen or so feral cats gathered around, as if receiving a command. Their fur bristled, and they suddenly emitted a sharp, piercing meow. Blood vessels surged in their eyes as they all crouched and lunged forward in unison. They were actually going to attack Su-bai. These feral cats truly intended to hunt a human. Su-bai clenched his fists in the branch. His eyes narrowed slightly. A cold gleam spilled from the slits of his eyelids. He observed all directions, taking in every cat's charging form with his sharp senses. Whoosh! The night wind howled, growing ever more biting. Swish, swish, swish. Cat shadows leaped forward, closing in on Su-bai at the center. Just then, suddenly, cough, cough, cough. A series of low coughs rang out abruptly. In the silent, cold night, they were utterly jarring. Subai inexplicably felt the voice was somewhat familiar. Then a scene that left him utterly astounded unfolded. Meow meow meow. The dozen or so ferocious cats that had pounced forward suddenly shrieked in sheer terror. As if hearing the roar of a tiger, their fur stood on end, and they fled in all directions with panicked cries. Clack! A large light on the right flicked on, brightly illuminating the scene before him. Subai then realized that the dozen or so feral cats that had surrounded him had vanished completely in that brief moment. Not even a shadow remained. He looked in astonishment toward the source of the light. It was a ceiling lamp lit on a first-floor balcony. Thud, thud, thud. The sound of a cane striking the ground along with somewhat faltering footsteps slowly emerged. In no time a figure stepped out from inside the house, one that took Subai somewhat by surprise. A slightly hunched figure draped in a gray-black Zongshan-style jacket, holding a solid wooden cane. On his stern, unsmiling face his hair and beard were streaked with gray, making him appear around 60 years old. His weathered wise eyes were fixed on Subai. Grandpa Yang, so you live in Baiwa residential complex too? Subai greeted him with some delight. Ever since his parents went missing, he had taken on several part-time jobs. During the school week after classes ended, Subai would work odd jobs at the vegetable market near Baiwa residential complex. During winter and summer breaks, he found a steady part-time job at the Common People Pharmacy near his school. And Grandpa Yang was the resident veteran Chinese medicine practitioner at that pharmacy. He had always been quite kind to Subai, but Subai had never known that the old man's home was right across from his own. Leaning on his cane, the old man looked at Subai, nodded slightly, and spoke with a cough. It's late at night, cough cough, not safe outside alone. Go back quickly. Though the old man's expression remained deep and stern, his words were filled with no less concern. Subai gave a bright smile, lowered his voice, and waved his hand. Grandpa Yang, I'll head back then. You get some rest too. The old man, leaning on his cane, nodded slightly. Subai turned around. Seeing the empty residential road and the flower beds and grass on both sides now devoid of any feral cats, he breathed a slight sigh of relief. His expression relaxed. He walked straight into the stairwell and returned home. Behind him, click. The old man on his cane watched until Subai had entered his home, then turned off the balcony light. He walked back into the room, his slightly hunched frame gradually straightening and becoming upright. His once weary, murky, old eyes suddenly turned clear and murderous. His narrowed gaze was as sharp as blades. A faint shimmering light vaguely emerged from the depths of his eyes. An icy, murderous aura suddenly permeated the surroundings. The old man's entire demeanor underwent a earth-shattering transformation. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the dim room, gusts of cold wind suddenly stirred. This was caused by a sudden drop in temperature inside the room, while outside remained the sweltering summer heat, creating convective air currents. Crack, crack, an eerie sound erupted. On the tea table beside the old man, the surface of an old-fashioned glass cup had against the season formed a thin layer of icy frost. A few beasts, how dare you? The old man muttered in a deep, low voice. He picked up the flashlight from the table, took out an AA battery from the cabinet, and loaded it in. However, the old man's method of loading the battery was peculiar. Unlike ordinary people, he gripped the flashlight with one hand, using his thumb and index finger to hold the battery, pressing and pushing it section by section into the battery compartment. If soldiers from the Security Bureau or the Military Equipment Bureau had seen this, they would have been astonished to find that the old man's technique closely resembled how military personnel press magazines to load bullets. After skillfully loading the battery, the old man turned on the flashlight, grabbed his cane, and strode out of the house. At his home in Baiwa residential complex, Subai, who had just entered, plopped down onto a chair. He poured a cup of warm water and gulped it down in one breath. Recalling what had just happened, he couldn't help but furrow his brows. What the hell is going on? Feral cats in the residential complex have turned into something like a wolf pack, trying to hunt humans. Thinking back now, Subai suddenly felt that the threat posed by those dozen feral cats was even several times greater than that of thugs like Sang-go and his crew. If even feral cats wanted to kill people, what terrifying changes might occur in the animals at the zoo? Or a surge of crisis washed over Subai's heart. His gaze grew urgent and resolute. He had to feed his eel avatar more and make greater use of the divine evolution system. As long as he continuously enhanced his own strength, no matter how dangerous the world became, he would have enough confidence to face it. With that thought, Subai immediately took out the 5 cans of dried shrimp he had just bought and began feeding his eel. Subai concentrated his thoughts. The scene within the monster space materialized before his eyes. He opened a can of small dried shrimp and poured all 10 shrimp, each as thick as his fingers, into the water. One by one, the dried and marinated small shrimps spun and floated down from the surface of the water. Subai was multitasking, controlling the yellow eel avatar. A wave of savory aroma wafted into his nostrils. With a splash, he gently shook the eel's body, stirring up the water, and swallowed 5 small shrimps in one go. Your avatar has consumed 5 small shrimps, gaining 10 evolution points. Your physical strength has increased by 1. The yellow eel avatar crunched on the crispy shrimp, feeling as if it were eating chips. So delicious. The more he ate, the more exhilarating it became. The evolution points of the avatar accumulated to 19, just 1 point short of another evolution. Subai immediately maneuvered the avatar to sweep up the remaining 5 small shrimps. Your avatar has consumed 5 small shrimps, gaining 10 evolution points. Your physical strength has increased by 1. A torrent of heat flowed through Subai's body, and his physical strength, originally at 450 pounds, surged to about 800 pounds. The enhancement of 2 points in physical strength nearly doubled his corporeal power. His mobility, explosive strength, and other physical attributes were significantly reinforced. His true combat prowess had undoubtedly increased several times. Subai now felt that if he encountered the likes of the disheartened dogs again, he could take down all 11 of them in just 3 moves within the span of a breath. Detecting that your avatar's evolution points are sufficient, would you like to begin evolution? A system. Subai's eyes lit up as he promptly responded, evolve. As soon as he finished speaking, the yellow eel avatar in the monster space began to radiate a brilliant golden light. Immediately, the eel's body, about 1.8 meters long, began to grow like a balloon. In the blink of an eye, it expanded to around 2.5 meters. The slippery eel's body swelled to the thickness of a bowl. Detecting that the host's yellow eel avatar has evolved to level 2, the talent panel has been unlocked. Talent panel unlocked successfully. Congratulations, host, your avatar has successfully comprehended a new talent. Yellow scaled armor. As the system prompt ended, Subai immediately felt a wave of intense pain surging through the yellow eel avatar, as if its skin were being ripped apart. Then Subai saw small scales the size of soybeans coalescing from the surface of the yellow eel avatar. A new avatar information panel also appeared before Subai. Avatar, sharp-toothed yellow eel. Level 2. Skills bite. LV2 bites the enemy target, causing tearing damage and continuous bleeding damage. Talent yellow scaled armor. LV2 covers the body with yellow scales, providing a certain degree of defense. Combat power 35. Evolution points 950. Not bad. Evolving into a sharp-toothed yellow eel, the bite skill has upgraded by 1 level, and a new talent, yellow scaled armor, has been added. Combat power has risen to 30 points, more than doubled from before. Subai murmured with satisfaction as he reviewed the new avatar information panel. Congratulations, host, your avatar has successfully evolved to level 2. Rewarding you with a chance to spin the wheel. Preparing the lottery wheel. Ordinary level lottery wheel is ready. Would you like to begin the lottery? With a crackle, the ordinary level lottery wheel, emitting a faint golden glow, slowly appeared before Subai's eyes, accompanied by the sound of gears turning. The bright red pointer on the lottery wheel clearly indicated that there was 1 chance to draw. Subai's eyes gleamed slightly as he commanded start the lottery. As soon as he finished speaking, the red pointer began to spin rapidly. It finally came to a stop in a section that depicted a figure adorned in glimmering gold. Again, something that can be used by my main body. Subai quickly realized. Congratulations, host, you have drawn Golden Bell Shield. Golden Bell Shield, a horizontal training technique. Tip can be used by crushing it. Whoosh. The entire lottery wheel suddenly turned into golden light, enveloping the white crystal containing the Golden Bell Shield and entering the storage space. I can't believe even traditional martial arts have appeared. I wonder if the Golden Bell Shield produced by the system is a bit more powerful. Subai mused to himself, looking at the shimmering white crystal in the storage space. He wasn't in a hurry to use it immediately. There were still 4 cans of small shrimp spot, and he could wait until he had fed them all to the yellow eel avatar before learning this horizontal training technique. Subai immediately opened the second can of small dried shrimps. There were 11 small shrimps inside. Your avatar has consumed 5 small shrimps, gaining 10 evolution points. Your physical strength has increased by 1. Your avatar has consumed 6 small shrimps, gaining 12 evolution points. Your physical strength has increased by 1. 2. After the entire can of small shrimps was devoured by the yellow eel avatar, the evolution points increased by 22. The Tundra 5 eel body stretched to 3 meters. Covered in yellow scales with sharp teeth at the corners of its mouth, it looked like a fearsome creature in the water. After increasing by 2 points, Subai's physical strength also rose to 9. 6. His physical power, which had just surged to 800 pounds, soared to 1,200 pounds in an instant. Subai's eyes gleamed as he clenched his fists. He now felt that he could easily crush a hard bluestone slab, just like the scenes he had seen in martial arts dramas. Excited, Subai immediately opened the third can of small shrimps. This can contain 10 small shrimps. Your avatar has consumed 5 small shrimps, gaining 10 evolution points. Your physical strength has increased by 1. Your avatar has consumed 5 small shrimps, gaining 10 evolution points. Your physical strength has increased by 1. After consuming 10 small shrimps, Su-Bei's physical strength reached 11.6 points. His power of 1,200 pounds surged to 1,600 pounds. The evolution points of the yellow eel avatar reached 51, meeting the evolution requirements again. Detecting that your avatar's evolution points are sufficient, would you like to begin evolution? Is there even a need to ask? Evolve. Su-Bei exclaimed with excitement as the divine evolution system's golden light enveloped the entire yellow eel avatar once more. The eel body grew to 3.5 meters long. Its girth also thickened, expanding to the size of a large bowl. Immediately, Su-Bei noticed a silver light emanating from the yellow eel avatar. The yellow scales covering its entire body transformed into more durable and dazzling silver scales in the blink of an eye. Once the evolution was complete, the system's prompt echoed again. Congratulations, host, your avatar has successfully evolved to level 3, rewarding you with a chance to spin the wheel. Preparing the lottery wheel. Congratulations, host, you've triggered the intermediate lottery wheel with a 30 trigger rate. Intermediate lottery wheel is ready. Would you like to begin the lottery? After reading all the system prompts, Su-Bei was momentarily stunned, then overjoyed. There's actually an intermediate lottery wheel with a trigger probability of less than 1 in 3. Looks like my luck is decent today. The gleaming golden intermediate lottery wheel materialized before Su-Bei's eyes. Every item within each compartment of the wheel was of superior quality with enhanced effects and greater power. Su-Bei even felt that the golden light on the wheel's surface had grown much more intense. Without a second thought, he commanded, directly begin the draw. With a series of clicks and clanks, the sound of gears grinding, the pointer on the intermediate lottery wheel began to spin rapidly. Before long, it came to a halt over a compartment that glowed with a faint luminescence. Inside this compartment were 2 gently swaying white tendrils. Su-Bei's eyes lit up. It seems this draw is something for the eel avatar to use. Congratulations, host. You have drawn the sensory tendrils. Sensory tendrils, when used on an avatar, it will grow 2 sensory tendrils automatically, granting the ability of crisis perception. Tip: have the avatar devour the crystal to use it. Whoosh! A crystal wrapped in golden light entered Su-Bei's storage space. Indeed, as expected of a prize from the intermediate lottery wheel, it could grant the avatar an additional skill. Su-Bei felt a surge of joy, and with a thought retrieved the crystal containing the sensory tendrils and fed it into the monster space. With divided focus, the eel avatar swallowed the crystal in one gulp. A cool sensation spread through its body. Su-Bei soon felt a tingling numbness near the eel avatar's mouth. It seemed as though something was about to emerge. Then he saw 2 tendrils about the length of a palm sprout from the edges of the eel avatar's mouth. They swayed gently with the water currents. Once all changes were complete, a new avatar information panel immediately appeared before Su-Bei. Avatar sharp-toothed silver-scaled eel level 3 skills. Bite LV3 bites enemy targets, causing tearing damage and continuous bleeding damage. Crisis perception LV3 by focusing mental intent on the sensory tendrils and consuming a certain amount of mental energy, 1 can sense the threat level of all living beings within a 20-meter radius. Talent silver scale armor LV3, the body is covered in silver scales, providing decent defensive power. Combat power 99 evolution points 1100 excellent. Every skill and talent has increased by 1 level, and the combat power has nearly tripled. This crisis perception ability can actually detect the threat level of surrounding creatures. Su-Bei grew curious about this new ability. He went to the bathroom and filled the tub with water. With a mental command, a splash echoed as water exploded. The 3.5 meter long silver-scaled eel avatar emerged from the monster space, filling the entire bathtub to the brim. Its body was thick and elongated, entirely silver white. The fine scales felt smooth yet tough to the touch, clearly offering considerable defensive capability. On its massive head, fangs were fully exposed between its jaws, presenting a ferocious appearance. Beneath its mouth, 2 beautiful silver-white tendrils swayed gently in the water. Su-Bei gazed at this avatar form, which existed in no recorded lore, and felt a profound shock in his heart. Perhaps one day I might truly nurture a divine dragon. Su-Bei murmured softly, his heart ablaze with passion. Then, with divided focus, he controlled the silver-scaled eel avatar to activate the crisis perception skill. Ripples spread slowly across the bathwater in concentric circles. The 2 sensory tendrils began to emit a faint silver-white glow. A highly intuitive and wondrous 3D map immediately appeared in the silver-scaled eel avatar's mind. The sensation was both surreal and magical. Within this 3-dimensional map, Su-Bei saw numerous light points at varying distances within a 20-meter radius. Some were green. A very few were red. The remaining 2 jars of dried shrimp were both glowing green. Su-Bei instantly understood that the green lights represented food for the avatar. However, what did those red lights signify? Su-Bei glanced in the direction indicated by the red light. It was outside the window near the kitchen. At that distance. Huh. It seems to be near the community flower bed. Could these red lights be the stray? Subai immediately realized. Just then his gaze abruptly froze. Through the silver-scaled eel avatar, he suddenly saw a glaringly bright white light in the 3D map. This mass of white light was as dazzling as a miniature sun. When the silver-scaled eel avatar's mental energy barely touched this light, it felt an overwhelmingly terrifying aura of pressure. At that moment, the silver-scaled eel avatar's spiritual consciousness felt like a small boat adrift in a stormy sea. If this mass of white light harbored even a hint of hostility, it would whip up monstrous waves capsizing the tiny vessel. The 3.5-meter-long silver-scaled eel's body stiffened in sheer terror. Cold sweat instantly soaked Subei's back. Fortunately, the white light bore no hostility. He breathed a silent sigh of relief and hastily controlled the silver-scaled eel avatar to narrow the range of the crisis perception ability, avoiding any further contact with that white light. Just then Subai suddenly noticed that clusters of red lights were rapidly vanishing. Like candles being snuffed out, they dimmed and extinguished one after another. Subai vaguely heard extremely terrified cat cries from outside. But when he strained to listen, these faint sounds abruptly ceased. Someone or something was hunting these stray cats. Subai immediately grasped the situation. He suddenly recalled the terrified reactions of the stray cats when Grandpa Yang had come out earlier. Could this white light be emanating from Grandpa Yang? Subai murmured in speculation, quickly withdrawing the silver-scaled eel avatar. Cautiously and quietly, he left the bathroom, went to the kitchen, and crouched by the window, peering outside with utmost vigilance. The thick clouds in the night sky had inexplicably dispersed, revealing a clear and beautiful night. A bright silvery moon hung high in the sky. Bathed in the moonlight, Subai could clearly see the community roads and the flower bed. No one was there. No stray cats either. Nothing out of the ordinary. Everything was utterly silent. The faint mournful cat cries he thought he had heard earlier seemed to be nothing more than a figment of his imagination. He then looked toward Grandpa Yang's balcony on the first floor of the opposite building. It was dark and quiet. No lights were on inside. It seemed the old man was already fast asleep with nothing unusual to note. Subai furrowed his brow, puzzled, and turned back to his room. Returning to the bathroom, he released the silver-scaled eel avatar. Controlling it, he once again activated the crisis perception ability, carefully expanding its range to sense the surroundings. Even when the 3D map expanded to its maximum range of 20 meters, he found no trace of the white. To Subei's great astonishment, all the red light clusters that had appeared within the sensing range had vanished completely. Had those stray cats been killed? Or had they all left the community? Who or what was that white light? A cascade of questions flooded Subei. After a long while unable to find any leads, he set aside these distracting thoughts. Subai retracted the silver-scaled eel avatar and took out the golden bell shield crystal from his storage space. He needed to enhance his own strength more quickly. With a sharp crack, Subai crushed the white crystal in his hand. Two streams of mist-like, pale white light instantly poured into his eyes. Subei's eyes flew wide open. In the depths of his dark pupils, fleeting silhouettes of figures punching and kicking could be clearly seen, appearing and vanishing in an instant. Subei's body began to tremble violently, as if struck by an electric shock. Cracking and popping sounds, the friction of bones, and the clash of sinews echoed throughout his frame. The transformation lasted about a minute. Subai, who had been lightly closing his eyes, suddenly opened them. A brilliant gleam like a flash of lightning shot across his pupils. He exhaled and inhaled deeply. A long breath stirred the wall calendar, causing it to rustle. He narrowed his eyes, reining in his breath and steadying his spirit. When Subai opened his eyes again, he felt an indescribable comfort coursing through his entire body, brimming with inexhaustible strength. The value of his physical strength had not changed, but his bodily power had increased by 400 gene, reaching 2,000 gene. This was the result of learning the Golden Bell Shield, which further enhanced his physical foundation and bodily. In Subei's mind, all the secrets and key points of the Golden Bell Shield, a technique of external refinement, were as clear as the lines on his palm. This technique consisted of 4 stages. With each stage mastered, the defensive power of the body greatly increased, and the weak points of the technique diminished. After the 4th stage, there were no weak points anywhere on the body, ultimately reaching a state of purity and flawlessness. Furthermore, one could cultivate a secret technique known as the Golden Bodyguard. When activated, the body became as hard as diamond, with astonishing defensive power. At this moment, after absorbing the crystal containing the Golden Bell Shield, Subai had already mastered all 4 stages. The technique was now perfected. He could also sense a wisp of true energy forming within him, much like that found in martial arts films or novels. That wisp of energy was the essence of bodily vitality condensed through the operation of the Golden Bell Shield technique. As soon as he activated the technique, this energy would automatically suffuse the surface of his body. Golden Bodyguard. Su Bei's gaze sharpened as he directly activated the secret technique that could only be mastered after completing all 4 stages. A faint golden light immediately shimmered across his fair skin. Su Bei tried picking up a fruit knife from the table and cutting himself, but it couldn't even break his skin. He applied more force with another slash, leaving only a faint white mark. Su Bei immediately felt the wisp of true energy within him rapidly depleting. Once it was entirely exhausted, the golden light on his skin dimmed and faded away. Su Bei glanced at the clock on the wall and mentally calculated the duration of the Golden Bodyguard. About a minute. He clenched his fist slightly. This 1 minute is the peak of my combat power. With the defense of the Golden Bodyguard, I can use my fighting techniques to attack. Within this minute, even if 100 brutes like Sang Dog come at me all armed with blades, I could take them all down without a scratch. Su Bei muttered to himself with burning eyes. He had a very clear understanding of his own strength. At the same time, he vaguely sensed some constraints within his body. Just like when he had broken through the ordinary human limit of 5 points in physical strength, a strange, uncomfortable feeling of wearing clothes that were too tight faintly arose. He should be able to break through with a bit more improvement in physical strength. But how was he supposed to increase his mental strength? Could it be that his clone needed to eat some brain-nourishing things like pig or sheep brains? Looking at his mental strength, which was still at 5 points, Su Bei couldn't help but feel some doubt. His gaze swept over to 2 cans of dried shrimp on the table. He stopped thinking and directly fed both cans of dried shrimp into the monster space. Your clone devoured 10 dried shrimp, gaining 10 evolution points. Your physical strength 1. Your clone devoured 10 dried shrimp, gaining 10 evolution points. Your physical strength 1. A warm current surged. Su Bei's bodily power increased to 2,400 gene. The length of the silver-scaled eel clone also grew to 3.8 meters. However, what surprised Su Bei was that previously 1 dried shrimp had added 2 evolution points and 2 points of physical strength. But now, after evolving into a silver-scaled eel clone, devouring 1 shrimp only added 1 evolution point and 1 points of physical strength. Su Bei even felt that if he evolved again, the clone might gain no evolution points from eating dried shrimp. It seemed he needed to buy something else for the silver-scaled eel clone to eat. Su Bei unlocked his phone and opened his electronic account. He still had over 9,000 yuan left. Tomorrow was Friday, and after school, he had to go to work at the Baiwa vegetable market. He could buy some seafood to feed the clone and see what happened. He could also buy some brains to see if they could improve his mental strength. Su Bei silently calculated. Ding dong ding dong. The wall clock chimed the hour at 11. After a busy evening, Su Bei was also a bit tired. He washed up and went to bed. Lying on the hard wooden bed, he habitually took out his phone and began browsing the day's news. Nanshan Focus was the local news platform for Nanshan City. It summarized recent news events from around Nanshan, as well as domestic and international affairs. Through videos, images, and text, it organized and presented the news item by item. Su Bei briefly scrolled through the headlines, which were mostly economic and political articles. After reading a few briefly, he lost interest. Just as he was about to close the app, a pinned top news story from Nanshan Focus caught his eye. Class A fugitive of the Dragon Kingdom enters Nanling. The bright red large font pinned headline adhered to the usual conservative style of current affairs news. But the content of this title was enough to overshadow any clickbait headline. A Class A fugitive was a violent criminal with at least 5 murders to their name. Nanling was the Southern Hills. Nanshan City was one of the surrounding cities and counties near the Southern Hills. Could a violent murderer have actually entered the Southern Hills? Su Bei's gaze involuntarily sharpened. He immediately clicked into the news. A high-definition photo of the fugitive appeared before his eyes. It was a man around 30 years old with an ordinary face. The only thing that left a deep impression on Su Bei was his pair of cold, indifferent eyes. Even in a photo, one could feel the man's gaze utterly devoid of regard for human life, filled with coldness and ruthlessness. Su Bei looked down at the news introduction below. Class A fugitive Lu Gang. Gender male. Age 32. Place of origin Shanwu. ID number. He then looked at the second paragraph of text. Moi. Su Bei's brow involuntarily raised slightly. His expression suddenly grew serious. This a level wanted fugitive is extremely dangerous and poses a significant threat to the safety of ordinary citizens. This second paragraph was even bolded and highlighted in red as a warning. Su Bei frowned slightly and continued reading. However, what struck him as odd was that news of this sort usually resembled a wanted poster. By this point, it should have listed the wanted fugitive's briefcase details, basic information, physical features, carried items, social connections, and various other specifics. But Su Bei skimmed the entire news report and found not a single shred of such concrete information. He wondered whether the editor-in-chief of Nanshan Focus had simply overlooked it, or if the wanted fugitive's official notice itself was lacking these details. Perplexed, Su Bei continued reading. According to the first notification from the Dragon Kingdom's security system, Liu Gang had fled into the southern hills around 4 in the morning on May 5th. He was highly likely to enter the cities and counties surrounding the southern hills in the coming days. To apprehend the level wanted fugitive Liu Gang as soon as possible, eliminate social hazards promptly, and ensure public safety, the general public was urged to remain vigilant. Once any trace or intelligence regarding the fugitive was discovered, citizens were to actively report it to the local security departments. The Nanjiang Provincial Security Bureau, along with all municipal security bureaus surrounding the southern hills, jointly issued a reward notice. Citizens providing reliable information would receive a cash reward of 100,000 yuan, and their identities would be strictly confidential. Those harboring the fugitive or facilitating his escape would be dealt with according to the law once verified. At the same time, all residents in the surrounding urban areas were warned that this criminal was extremely dangerous. Under no circumstances should they approach him. They must immediately report to the local security bureau. Subai finished reading the entire news report, his gaze lingering on the final paragraph for a long time. His furrowed brow remained for quite a while. If the clone becomes a true dragon, how powerful would I be by then? At the thought, Subai's eyes lit up, his heart full of anticipation. Before long, Aunt Lin called him personally, showering him with care and concern. After they chatted and hung up, Subai felt slightly relieved. He turned off his phone and fell into a deep sleep. In a small village on the outskirts of Nanshan City, near the edge of the southern hills, police cars and military trucks had been arriving since 4:30 in the morning, completely cordoning off the entire village. The leading officer distributed cash subsidies to the villagers while ordering them all to stay indoors. After learning that a heinous murderer had fled into the southern hills jungle in the early hours, the village chief cooperated fully by organizing village cadres to go door to door and ensure compliance. With subsidies in hand and the news of a fugitive hunt, the villagers readily agreed to stay put. Many villagers saw several police cars parked on the road leading from the village to the southern hills, blocking the intersection completely. When they peered toward the southern hills forest, they could even see a long cordon firmly encircling and sealing off the entire edge of the woods. This lockdown lasted an entire day. It was now 11:30 at night. At the edge of the southern hills forest, a temporary military green operations tent blazed with light. Song Weiman, the director of the Nanshan Security Bureau, stood solemnly before a high-definition topographic map hanging on the wall. The map, nearly 3 meters in both length and width, displayed the entire topography of the southern hills. Song Weiman, now nearly 50, wore a neatly pressed Security Bureau combat uniform. His back stood ramrod straight, his stern face with slightly gray-streaked temples brimming with gravity and seriousness. He clasped his hands behind his back, silently listening to the reports from several action battalion commanders. From time to time, he stuck small flag markers onto the hanging map. As each commander finished their report, the map became dotted with flags of various colors. Like surging tides under a rising wind, they formed a 3-wave pattern spreading from the forest edge toward the interior of the southern hills. These 3 circles of flags converging toward the center represented the 3 thorough searches conducted by the Nanshan Security Bureau since everyone arrived early this morning. After the commanders finished their reports, the tent fell silent. All eyes turned to Song Weiman, waiting in hushed anticipation for the next orders. Lao Qin, how are the soldiers from the first search wave resting? Song Weiman's deep voice echoed in the tent. He turned around, his profound gaze sweeping over all the commanders, exuding an air of authority. Instantly, every commander perked up. The leading commander immediately replied, Director Song, they've all completed their rest, ready to deploy at any moment. Song Weiman nodded slightly at Lao Qin. He then looked at the others and spoke in a grave tone. This joint operation across 3 cities is of utmost importance. The entire Southern Hills region spans 3 cities and 12 counties. As long as Liu Gang remains at large, the safety of every citizen in these areas is under constant threat. Everyone has been working for 17 hours since arriving at 4:30. I know you're all exhausted, but until this fugitive is caught, we will stay rooted here like nails. Even if we have to dig 3 feet into the ground, I want to see him alive or his corpse. Song Weiman's words were resolute, his tone unwavering. Yes, sir. All commanders saluted in unison. Song Weiman nodded slightly and asked any other issues. The tent fell silent. Then the youngest among the commanders appeared conflicted. His lips pressed tightly, twitching slightly as if he wanted to speak, but held back. Song Weiman, who had been scanning everyone, keenly noticed this commander's unease and asked, Huzi, is there a problem? Everyone turned to look at him. Huzi met Song Weiman's gaze, and that of the others, clenched his teeth and braced himself to speak. Director Song, we're casting such a wide net based on just one photo. We don't even know the fugitive's specific facial features, case details, carried items, social connections. Nothing. Could the higher-ups be? Huzi hesitated. The other commanders shared these doubts, and now that Huzi had voiced them, they all looked at Song Weiman. Song Weiman did not scold him. It's fine, go on. Emboldened, Huzi laid out his concerns and worries. Director Song. Since this fugitive is classified as a level, he must have committed at least one serious murder case. Though we don't know the specifics, the fact that he fled into the southern hills and evaded our three-city force for so long suggests he's no ordinary criminal. You even ordered us all to wear bulletproof vests and carry live ammunition. But right now we're completely in the dark about the details. We're in a situation where the enemy is hidden and we're exposed. If our brothers actually encounter the target, the arrest will be fraught with extreme danger and instability. At this point, Huzi paused, glanced at the others, and Song Wayman, and finally spoke. Director Song. I'm wondering if the higher-ups are hiding something. Could this a level fugitive be? More than a level. Huzi's words struck like a bombshell, detonating in the hearts of everyone in the tent, instantly stirring up monstrous waves. All the squad leaders stared at Huzi in disbelief. How dare you speak such words? Their silent exchange was now perfectly synchronized. Having spoken his mind, Huzi felt a weight lift from his chest. He knew it had to be said for the safety of everyone and their men. At that moment, Huzi and all the squad leaders turned their gaze to Song Wayman. After a moment's deliberation, Song Wayman spoke, gravely choosing his words carefully. Huzi is right. As soon as the words left his mouth, everyone's pupils widened in shock. They all pricked up their ears listening, and Song Wayman continued. You've probably guessed it by now. That a level wanted notice, aside from the photo, doesn't have much useful information or reference value. The higher-ups issued it that way to make sure we take this fugitive seriously without causing panic among the public. The reason I ordered everyone to wear bulletproof vests and conduct the search fully armed is that this fugitive is highly likely to have received professional military training from a foreign country and might even be carrying a gun. All the squad leaders drew in a sharp breath. In the Dragon Kingdom, a level fugitive with professional military training and a firearm posed an extraordinary danger. Facing such a vicious and desperate criminal, no amount of caution was excessive. At that moment, every squad leader in the tent became fully alert. Song Wayman's expression grew even more solemn. He continued addressing the group. Regarding Liu Gang, the higher-ups indeed didn't reveal much. But I know this mission isn't just from the Provincial Police Bureau. The Provincial Military Bureau also issued a joint directive with them afterward. You can see how seriously the higher-ups take this. I even suspect there might be direct orders from even higher level. Moreover, I've been informed that the team from the province should be arriving in Nanshan City in the next few days. The higher-ups want our Nanshan division to fully cooperate and handle everything. Hearing this, everyone's eyes grew heavy with thought. Old Chin ventured a question. Director Song, you mean that special independent unit attached to the military department? Song Wayman nodded. Correct. We don't know if they have other tasks besides this one. Of course, let's focus on what's in front of us. The mission objective from the higher-ups is exactly what I said. We must find him dead or alive. And after completing the mission, no private interrogations or searches are allowed. Once Liu Gang and all his belongings are captured, they must be sealed immediately. If he's killed, the scene must be preserved. All subsequent matters will be directly handed over to the provincial team when they arrive. After Song Wayman finished speaking, the tent fell into complete silence. Everyone understood the gravity of the situation. The joint order from the provincial military and police bureaus, the impending arrival of that special unit, and the unusual handling procedures for the fugitive. All signs pointed to the immense significance of the secret behind this mission. Could it be that Liu Gang himself was the problem? Or perhaps it was what he was carrying? One conjecture after another surfaced in the minds of all the squad leaders. Song Wayman glanced at the time, then tapped the table to bring everyone back to attention. He swept his gaze across the room and spoke with utmost solemnity. Time is running out. I want everyone to stay sharp and lead your teams well. The sooner we apprehend this fugitive, the sooner the people of our city and surrounding areas can stop living in fear. Yes, Director Song, we guarantee the mission will be completed. All the squad leaders immediately stood at attention and saluted in unison. Song Wayman nodded slightly and began assigning tasks. Old Chin, Huzi, you two will handle the 4th round of grid searches. Old Zhang. Song Wayman finished assigning everyone. Each round of searches was conducted in pairs. An experienced squad leader was paired with a younger, more energetic one. Finally, he reminded them, before you set out, check that all your men are properly equipped. The mission must be completed, the fugitive must be captured, but most importantly, everyone who leaves must return safe and sound. Yes, Director Song. Everyone responded warmly, then turned to carry out their orders. Song Wayman watched his men leave the tent, his worried expression lingering. He turned and carefully studied the hanging topographic map, which was covered in small flags. The routes of the 3 grid searches were clearly marked. The more Song Wayman looked, the deeper and more solemn his expression became. After 3 full rounds of grid searches, every forested area from Nanshan City to the center of the southern hills had been thoroughly checked 3 or 4 times. Song Wayman would have known if even a bird had flown out. But there was still no trace of Liu Gang. He checked his phone again. The other two city police bureaus had also reported nothing. Perhaps Liu Gang had already escaped the southern hills. A thought that made Song Wayman's heart sink struck him like lightning. His brows furrowed deeply. He ordered all off-duty officers to return for overtime and together with the remaining staff to prepare for round-the-clock shifts. Street patrols and public security must be arranged. All suspicious individuals must be closely monitored. After making all the arrangements, Song Wayman stepped out of the tent and looked up at the sky. Thick clouds obscured the night sky and darkness surrounded everything. Gazing toward the mountains, he could hear the occasional commands from Old Chin and Huzi and see beams of bright flashlight cutting through the dark forest and sky. Song Wayman sighed. Tonight would be a sleepless night. Near midnight on Mingle Street in Nanshan City, the entire street was ablaze with lights filled with the clamor of voices and thumping music. This was the city's entertainment district. Street-side snacks and cooked foods were abundant. Cinemas, karaoke bars, KTVs, pubs, and other entertainment venues lined both sides of the street. Though it was midnight for this street, the nightlife was just reaching its peak. At the entrance of Mingle Street, the opulently decorated Crown Bar was a lively scene of neon lights and bustling crowds. At the far end of the bar, behind a large floor-to-ceiling mirror, was a hidden door. Inside lay a secret room known to very few. The hidden private chamber was exceedingly spacious. At this moment, the scene of decadent luxury within was even more extravagant and ostentatious than the outside world. The chamber was dimly lit with only a single warm ambient light and a few colored lamps glowing. A top-tier surround sound system blasted dynamic music. On the dance floor in the center of the chamber, two strikingly beautiful women in scant clothing were dancing heatedly. On the main crimson leather sofa sat a middle-aged man around his 40s. This man was Lin Li, the shadowy owner of a major entertainment company that operated the Qingxiang Night Market, the Crown Bar, and many other entertainment venues in the city. Lin Li wore a custom-tailored suit meticulously groomed from head to toe. He leaned back on the leather sofa watching the dance with a light laugh. Lin Li had a woman on each arm. A beauty in a cheongsam attended to his food and drink on one side, while another massaged his legs and shoulders on the other. On the side sofas against the left and right walls sat 5 burly men in their prime. These men were Lin Li's trusted confidants, managing his various entertainment venues and the company. Each of them was also accompanied by 2 attractive women. On the table, an entire array of expensive liquors was laid out, including Louis XIII and 1987 Lafite. A mobile dining cart nearby held a feast of rare delicacies. But at this moment, no one was interested in the food or drink. After several rounds of drinking, 5 impatient, burly men began to fondle the women beside them. Lin Li watched this scene without any attempt to stop it. Instead, he laughed heartily. Thinking of the recent affairs he had orchestrated, his eyes were filled with arrogance and unbridled glee. In high spirits, Lin Li reached for the cheongsam-clad beauty who was massaging his shoulders. The woman was startled by the sudden advance and instinctively resisted. "Moi." Lin Li raised an eyebrow, a fierce cold glint flashing in his eyes. Slap. He struck the woman's face with a vicious slap. The woman collapsed to the floor with a thud, blood mixed with a broken tooth spurting from her mouth. The other 5 men didn't stop their actions because of the incident. Instead, they cheered loudly. For a moment, the chamber was filled with the arrogant, unbridled laughter of Lin Li and his men. All the women, seeing the one on the ground with tears and blood at the corner of her mouth, couldn't help but shiver inwardly. The woman tremblingly lifted her eyes to meet Lin Li's fierce gaze, her quivering body growing more terrified. Lin Li sneered and beckoned to the woman. No words were spoken, but the woman who had been knocked to the ground by the slap understood. She crawled over, took a wet wipe, cleaned the blood from her lips, and lowered her head to begin her work. Suddenly, the ring of a phone broke the decadent atmosphere in the chamber. A sharp glint flashed in Lin Li's eyes. He had been waiting all night for this call. Lin Li immediately looked toward his right-hand man sitting at the head of the sofa. This trusted confidant, wearing a floral shirt, perked up as well. He quickly pushed the woman aside and went to a corner to answer the phone. Seeing the call had come, all the men lost interest, casting occasional glances toward the corner. After a while, the man in the floral shirt finished the call in the corner and turned back. Lin Li saw his expression and his heart immediately sank. Lin Li's face darkened as well. Another trusted confidant, who was the manager of the Crown Bar, watched the scene. Seeing this, he immediately turned off the music, put thick black blindfolds on all the women, led them out, and closed the secret door tightly. The chamber quickly fell silent. The 3 trusted confidants sat upright, while the man who had answered the phone began to sweat cold sweat on his forehead, his expression fearful and tense. He knew full well how troublesome this call was, and even more so how much Lin Li valued this matter. The atmosphere was dead silent. Lin Li leaned back on the leather sofa, lit a cigar, and blew out a thick cloud of smoke as he spoke cold. The man in the floral shirt trembled as he stammered, Lee. Brotherly. Iron Head called with the code word, and the meeting point didn't have the person carrying the item only Security Bureau agents. Upon hearing this, Lee's face grew even darker like water. The others saw his expression and all lowered their heads, not daring to breathe heavily. So the task they gave us failed, Lee said calmly, puffing on his cigar. But everyone knew that the calmer he seemed, the more uneasy they felt. Lee, brotherly. The trusted confidant in the floral shirt began to plead. But before he could finish, bang. A crisp, sharp explosion suddenly broke out in the chamber. Lee had grabbed a beer bottle and smashed it violently against the confidant's forehead. The four men sitting upright on the sofa all shuddered in unison. Clattering sounds filled the air as broken glass shards scattered everywhere. The man in the floral shirt collapsed to his knees with a thud. As blood streamed from his forehead, he immediately begged piteously, brotherly. I was wrong, I really know I was wrong. Lee threw down the broken bottle and kicked the confidant hard, sending him sprawling. Then he grabbed him and lifted him up. Slap, slap, slap. He viciously struck the confidant's face with a series of slaps. He roared with a ferocious expression. You fucking Hua Ziqiang, what the hell did you promise me back then? Fuck your mother. If this thing is screwed up and those people come down on us, how the hell are we going to bear it? Lee, brotherly, they'll take the fall, I won't implicate you or the brothers. Hua Ziqiang mumbled through a bloody mouth. Hearing this only made Lee angrier. His fierce eyes burned with fury. You'll take the fall? You fucking. What can you take the fall with? Slap. He struck him again. Hua Ziqiang's head was spinning from the blows. Lee's heart was also filled with regret at this moment. He had been thrilled when he first connected with that organization. He felt that his time to rise to the top had come. All the tasks they had assigned had been handled perfectly. While making that connection, Lee was also shrewd and hadn't lost his senses. Every time he completed a task given by them, he delegated it to his subordinates using dedicated personnel and lines. None of them knew about each other's tasks. Sometimes even the liaison between superior and subordinate didn't know what task they were about to undertake before the meeting. Only Lee himself knew everything. This time the task was to receive an item for the organization. Lee could tell that the item was extremely important. Damn it, I should have arranged it myself. Lee thought with bitter regret. Suddenly Hua Ziqiang's phone. Everyone's movements came to an abrupt halt as they all stared at the phone on the table. The number displayed on the screen was Iron Head. A turning point. Lee's heart stirred. Lee immediately released Hua Ziqiang. The latter hastily answered the phone. Moments later, his face brimming with joy, he said to Lee, brotherly, Taitu has found the contact person. Lee's eyes brightened. Hua Ziqiang continued, but that person is currently being jointly wanted by the Security Bureau. This sudden twist nearly made Lee choke in frustration. Suppressing the urge to slap Hua Ziqiang to death, Lee gritted his teeth and said, explain clearly. What exactly is going on? Hua Ziqiang dared not delay and immediately replied, Taitu said that person made a satellite call, saying he is being wanted by 12 counties and 3 cities around the entire southern hills. He needs us to. Another trusted subordinate immediately handed Lee a tablet, bringing up the top wanted criminal news on Nanshan Focus. Lee quickly read through the entire report. A class wanted criminal, huh? He murmured to himself. Being able to make an unmonitored satellite call meant the man had likely escaped. Need some help. Wanted by 3 cities, and I'm supposed to help. One wrong move, and I'll be damn unreliable. Lee cursed inwardly, his mind racing. He immediately instructed Hua Ziqiang. Tell Taitu to inform that Liu Gang that exposing his whereabouts and getting wanted is his own problem. Our only task is to receive that item. No matter what, he must bring it here. Tomorrow morning. Lee made a series of arrangements. Hua Ziqiang promptly conveyed his orders to Taitu. After a long communication, they finally received a positive response. Lee nodded slightly. Damn it. No matter what, I'll push the responsibility away first. My task here is just to receive that item. I'll just do what I'm supposed to do. As for everything else, help my ass. With such a dirty record exposing his tracks and causing such a commotion, why doesn't he just die? Now everything is arranged. If this Liu Gang still can't deliver the item to Taitu, it won't be my fault. After pondering back and forth, Lee's expression slightly eased. Hua Ziqiang, who had put down his phone, saw this and breathed a huge sigh of relief. Ring ring. Everyone stiffened. They were now truly like startled birds. Lee and his trusted subordinates all turned to look at Hua Ziqiang. But this time it wasn't his phone. Another of Lee's trusted men, Dafei, went to a corner and answered the call. After a moment, he said to Lee with a hint of joy, brotherly, the person you wanted has been secured. Lee's eyes gleamed. This person Dafei mentioned was also someone the other side wanted. Seeing that things were finally going smoothly, Lee patted Dafei on the shoulder and praised, good job, Dafei. After this is done, go to the accounts and take 2 million. Your birthday is coming up and you like the big G, right? Use the money to get one. Consider it Brother Li's birthday gift to you. Thank you, Brother Li. Dafei bowed gratefully. Then Lin Li glanced at him and said calmly, there's one. Dafei, I heard something happened at Qingxiang Night Market. Dafei was startled. The incident at Qingxiang Night Market had just occurred tonight. He had only just received the news. He didn't expect Lin Li to already know. Dafei quickly bowed respectfully, expressing his determination. Brother Li, rest assured. I'll take care of the Qingxiang Night Market matter. From what I know, it's just some hothead causing trouble. I'll handle. Lin Li nodded slightly. He still trusted Dafei's abilities. He reminded him, the Qingxiang Night Market thing is trivial. Don't let small matters delay the big ones. Yes, Brother Li, I understand. Dafei replied. Lin Li then glanced at Hua Ziqiang, who was still kneeling on the ground, his face covered in blood, and spoke again. Get up, Hua Ziqiang. Clean yourself up. Later go to the accounts and take 200,000 for medical expenses. Go to the hospital and get properly stitched up. I remember your mother's 60th birthday is at the end of this month. Use the extra money to buy her some supplements and give her a proper celebration. Hua Ziqiang felt a warmth in his heart. He stood up and hurriedly thanked him repeatedly. Thank you, Brother Li. Thank you, Brother Li. Lin Li wielded his methods of alternating kindness and severity with consummate skill. Everyone was utterly convinced and filled with awe. Lin Li leisurely sat back down on the leather sofa, looking at the increasingly respectful and obedient Dafei, and Hua Ziqiang, a faint smile curled at the corner of his mouth. He waved his hand. Sit down, all of you. The night is still long. Have the women brought up. When it's time to enjoy ourselves, we should still enjoy ourselves. Everyone laughed and chimed in agreement. In no time, the private room was once again filled with opulence and decadence. Midnight. Outside the southern hills. In a field by a small village, a ragged figure slowly raised his head. He turned back to look at the southern hills filled with the beams of flashlights, and a cold smirk curled at the corner of his mouth. At that moment, the thick clouds in the sky parted slightly, letting down a sliver of moonlight that vaguely illuminated the man's face. It was the A-class wanted criminal, Lu Gang. He clutched the satellite phone, tightly muttering an unintelligible curse of resentment. Then he looked around to get his bearings. Soon Lu Gang crouched low again, and like a sprinting leopard he charged into the darkness of the distance. That direction was the direction of Nanshan City. The next morning, around 5:30, when the sky was just barely light, Su Bai got up. He went for a morning jog and grabbed breakfast along the way. At 6:30, after washing up and changing clothes, he left the house on time. Su Bai, dressed in a clean and tidy school uniform, carried his backpack over one shoulder. Along the way, he greeted the familiar elderly morning exercisers warmly. Amid the praise of the elderly, Su Bai caught the bus heading to the city center. Half an hour later, at 7 in the morning, he got off at Wanda Mall station. Su Bai shrugged his shoulders and adjusted his backpack more securely. He looked ahead. After passing Wanda Mall and one more traffic light, he would reach the school. There was plenty of time. Su Bai turned a corner, and the entire Wanda Mall came into view. The mall usually opened at 10 in the morning. But to Su Bai's surprise, at this hour a large crowd had already gathered far away on the square outside Wanda Mall. They were all gathered there watching something. Beep, 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 beep. The piercing sirens of security vehicles suddenly sounded behind Su Bai. Whoosh, whoosh. A fleet of speeding security vehicles roared past Su Bai in a flash. Then, with a series of screeching tire sounds, they came to an abrupt halt at the street entrance of the mall square. Su Bai immediately saw teams of fully armed security personnel getting out of the vehicles. They quickly rushed into the square, urgently dispersing the crowd, pulling up cordons, setting up riot shields, and completely surrounding the main entrance of Wanda Mall. Elite officers from the security bureau holding riot shields tightly encircled the main entrance of Wanda Mall. A long cordon sealed off the entire perimeter of the mall. The crowd was evacuated beyond the cordon, but lingered, craning their necks to watch. Passing by, Su Bai vaguely heard sobbing from within the crowd. Wah! Daddy! Mommy! The voice seemed to belong to a little girl. As Su Bai drew closer, murmurs from the crowd drifted to his ears. So many officers. What's happening inside Wanda Mall? It's early morning, not even open yet. Such a commotion. Oh my God, you don't know. Someone saw a gun tucked into a person's waist at KFC inside Wanda Mall. A gun. Su Bai's steps halted instantly. The crowd's chatter continued. Impossible. You must be joking. How could anyone in our Longwa carry a gun? It's probably a toy gun for their kid. These days. Bang. Before the speaker could finish, Su Bai heard a sharp explosion from the KFC inside Wanda Mall. That was a gunshot. Someone fired. Su Bai reacted instantly, crouching low to the ground. His keen eyes scanned the surroundings with utmost vigilance. Screams erupted from the onlookers. Many fled without a second thought. The wiser ones, like Su Bai, also. They cowered, peering toward the KFC at Wanda Mall. Su Bai noticed the little girl who had been sobbing earlier was now crying even more bitterly. Wah! Daddy, mommy. I want my mommy and daddy. She shook off a kind bystander's arm and suddenly tried to dash past the cordon. A female officer immediately stepped forward, embracing the little girl and comforting her softly. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. 2 more vehicles arrived. Subai saw a Honda minivan stop, and out stepped the host and cameraman from Nanshan Focus News. They stood at a safe distance, yet with a clear view of Wanda Mall. The female host began her live report with practiced ease. Good morning, everyone. This is Nanshan. I'm your host, Ranue, reporting from outside Wanda Mall, bringing you the first-hand coverage of the Class A wanted criminals capture. Behind me is Wanda Mall. This morning, the wanted criminal Liu Gang was accidentally spotted with a gun at his waist in the mall's KFC. He then took everyone inside hostage. According to reports, only a few managed to escape in time. Several customers and KFC staff remained trapped inside as hostages. What? The Class A wanted murderer was right in this mall. Listening to the host's report, Subai finally grasped the situation. His gaze sharpened, and he was deeply startled. He fixed his eyes on the mall's KFC. The glass door was jammed shut by a chair leg. The floor-to-ceiling curtains were drawn with tables blocking the view, making it hard to see inside. Subai saw another car screech to a halt. A young woman with delicate features dressed in a professional OL outfit stepped out. She appeared to be a negotiator. After arriving, she exchanged a few words with the officer in charge, then picked up a megaphone and began communicating toward the KFC at Wanda Mall. Hello, Liu Gang. This is Tong Xiaoyan from Nanshan Security Bureau. I'm here to negotiate with you. As long as you guarantee the hostages' safety, feel free to make any demands. Seeing this, the remaining onlookers couldn't help but whisper among themselves. How terrifying. A shot was fired. The criminal might have already killed someone inside. That Class A wanted criminal is in there. The hostages in KFC are likely in grave danger. Oh, that little girl. It's heartbreaking. Her parents risked everything to get her out, but now they're trapped inside. If anything happens to those hostages, she'll become an orphan. What a tragedy. Orphan. Subai was stunned. The word struck his mind like a sudden summer thunderbolt. Long-suppressed memories deliberately buried deep in his heart surged forth. Subai recalled that day 6 years ago when he had just started middle school and returned from registration. He faced a dark, empty room. He waited and waited only to receive a missing person report from the officers after filing a complaint. Since then, those 2 most familiar and beloved people had never reappeared. Subai snapped back to the present. He had long grown accustomed to pushing these thoughts aside, but whenever they resurfaced, a hollow emptiness linked. He knew all too well the arduous emotional journey he had endured as a young child. Subai looked at the little girl still sobbing in the female officer's arms. She was about 7 or 8 years old, wearing a pink dress. Her adorable face was streaked with glistening tears. Her eyes were fixed on the KFC, and she kept calling out, "Daddy, Mommy, I want my mommy and daddy." Her childish voice, hoarse from prolonged crying, was laced with uncontrollable sobs and sniffles. The little girl's beautiful dark eyes were swollen and red from weeping. Subai's heart clenched. She was only 7 or 8, just a little girl. If she truly became an orphan, it would be even harder for her to move on than it was for me. Subai clenched his fists, casting a deep glance at the little girl. Then his gaze shifted to Wanda Mall, his eyes turning sharp. Clang! Suddenly, Subai heard an odd noise from the KFC. An elderly man, hands raised high, clutching a phone, fearfully removed the stool jammed against the glass door. Trembling, he staggered out. The surrounding crowd murmured with relief. Someone's coming out. Are they letting people go? Subai's eyes narrowed. He sensed this was not so simple. Everyone watched the old man. Ring. The phone in his hand rang. He answered and put it on speaker. A low, emotionless voice came through. Let the one in charge speak. Negotiator Tong Xiaoyan raised an eyebrow upon hearing this. She immediately sensed the wanted criminal's cunning. To remain so calm and directly pinpoint the crux of the issue in such a situation was no small feat. Tong Xiaoyan brought the megaphone to her lips, about to speak. Just then, a sharp premonition of danger struck Su. A sudden premonition of danger surged within Subai's heart. Bang! A gunshot suddenly exploded. Subai looked at the old man walking out of the mall. Ah! The old man screamed as his right leg was hit by a bullet, and he fell to his knees, blood gushing out. Ah! Another shriek erupted from the surrounding crowd. Everyone instinctively retreated even farther away. Even as the old man screamed and knelt, he desperately raised his phone, from which a voice rang out again. I don't need to hear nonsense. I said I want to see someone who can make decisions. The eyes of all the security personnel and Tong Xiaoyan burned with fury. But the other side held many hostages, and with such ruthless tactics, they felt utterly helpless, forced to tread carefully. Seeing this, Subai's brows furrowed even deeper. He glanced around, and seeing no one watching, quietly lowered his posture and slipped out of the crowd. Subai made a wide circle and dashed toward the right side entrance of Wanda Mall. Having worked part-time here, before he knew there was a small door near the mall's right entrance. With his current skills, he could easily force his way in. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Subai swiftly crossed the greenery on the right side of the square. His darting figure was as fast as a hunting leopard in the jungle. In just a moment, Subai spotted the small door beside the mall's right entrance. Beep, beep, beep. The urgent sirens of police vehicles sounded again. Subai looked over. A convoy of several more police vehicles quickly stopped at the main entrance. From the vehicles, several squads of fully armed security personnel immediately disembarked. A dignified middle-aged man leading them took the megaphone from the negotiator. Subai heard the middle-aged man introduce himself as Song Wayman, the director of the Nanshan City Security Bureau. Then he began negotiating with Liu Gang. The situation gradually stabilized. Subai immediately dashed out of the greenery, leaped over the cordon, and strode to the small door. He gripped the locked door handle and twisted it with force. The lock and lock cylinder shattered completely. Under Subai's terrifying strength of 2,400 Jin, the entire door handle was twisted into a mangled piece of scrap metal. It clattered to the ground. Subai pushed the door open and rushed straight in. Behind it was the green passage for mall employees. After 3 quick strides across a 10-meter-long narrow corridor, there was another small door on the right. He broke the lock, opened it. Behind it was a storage room for the mall's cleaning supplies. He passed through and broke another lock. This time, Subai slowed down his action of opening the door, because behind this door was the first-floor lobby of Wanda Mall. He quietly opened the door a crack and peered out. He nonchalantly walked towards the dog-like figure. Seeing Subai's movement, the dog-like figure jumped back. Only 2 dark shadows flashed by in succession. Then the vicious wanted criminal was sent flying backward. Subai, still in his school uniform, stood holding a gun in the middle of the scene. How did this young man appear? Had he come to save them? He was still in a school uniform, just a child. And how had the wanted criminal flown backward, shattering even the hard marble counter? Even the gun in his hand had ended up in the boy's possession. Could it be that this child had sent the criminal flying? How was that possible? What was going on? Various chaotic thoughts and notions left everyone stunned, their minds nearly. They looked at Subai, then at the rubble-strewn, dust-filled ruins of the counter not far away, utterly bewildered by the situation. With his back to the crowd, Subai tilted his head slightly and shouted, "What are you waiting for? Get out of here now." His voice struck like a thunderclap, instantly jolting everyone into action. Trembling, they scrambled to their feet and fled outside. Behind them, the little girl's mother, not even pausing to wipe the blood from her lips, endured the pain and hoisted her husband's corpse onto her back. Just as she was about to rush out the door, she suddenly thought of something. Turning back, she urged urgently, "Child, why aren't you coming? Come on, escape with us." Without turning around, Subai said in a low voice, "Andy, you go first. The little girl outside has already lost her father. Don't let her lose her mother too. Leave this to me." The little girl's mother trembled. She glanced at her daughter, weeping heartbrokenly in the square outside, then turned back to look deeply at Subai. "Promise, Auntie, you'll come out alive. You must come out alive." Her voice choked with emotion. Subai nodded. Receiving his reply, the little girl's mother took a final profound look at Subai's youthful silhouette. Her eyes reddened. Finally, her lips trembling, she bit them, slightly choked with unspeakable emotion, and carrying her husband's corpse, turned and walked out the door. In the KFC filled with shattered marble dust, only Subai remained after a short while. His sharp sword-like eyes were fixed on the ruins of the counter. When Subai had kicked Liu Gang away earlier, he had clearly sensed something unusual about the latter. It felt like kicking a hard rock, and his foot had even received a strong rebound force. This Liu Gang was off, Subai thought to himself. Suddenly, from the pale white dust of the counter's rubble, a figure in tattered clothes slowly stood up. It was Liu Gang. He was completely unharmed. Subai frowned slightly. Liu Gang shook off his broken cap, cracked his neck, and flexed his thick knuckles. Then with a cold smirk, he looked at Subai and said, "Kid." Before he could finish, Subai raised his hand. In the blink of an eye, he emptied the gun's entire magazine at Liu Gang. In the next instant, Subai's eyes narrowed slightly. His extraordinary dynamic vision saw it clearly. The moment he raised his gun to fire, Liu Gang picked up a piece of broken marble slab from the ground and blocked every bullet. This Liu Gang could see the bullet's trajectory. How could he move so fast? This sight shocked Subai. His extraordinary dynamic vision saw it clearly. The moment he raised his gun to fire, Liu Gang picked up a piece of broken marble. He also understood that the Liu Gang before him was clearly no ordinary man. Liu Gang dropped the bullet-riddled marble fragment and sneered, "Kid, you've got some nerve. Daring to shoot at me. Out of bullets, are you? Now I'll give you a chance. Let's break out together. Once we're out of Nanshan City, I, Liu Gang, will grant you wealth and fortune. A fortune you can't even dream of." Liu Gang said in a low, seductive tone. "You've sensed it too, haven't you? That's right. We're not ordinary. We both possess abilities beyond normal humans. This world is about to undergo a great upheaval. Only by riding the tide of the times can one become the master of the new world. Come with me. It's a bit tough for me to break out alone." But with your help the two of us can handle those idiots outside. They're nothing but chickens and dogs. Come on, let's. Liu Gang said with slight excitement. Too much talk. Su Bai coldly interrupted. He crushed the empty gun in his hand into pieces with one hand. Then crouching slightly, he pushed off the ground. Crack. The hard ceramic tiles beneath his feet shattered instantly. The powerful thrust shot Su Bai like an arrow from a bow straight to Liu Gang. Liu Gang's expression froze and fury surged within him. Caught off guard, he could only cross his thick arms in a defensive posture before him. Bang! A ferocious punch carrying the force of 2,400 genes slammed brutally into Liu Gang's arms. It sent him flying back 7 or 8 meters, crashing through the wall behind him. He tumbled and rolled into the hall on the first floor of Wanda Mall. Su Bai's face remained expressionless as he stepped over the broken wall and walked forward. Rustle! Liu Gang stood up with rubble and dust falling from his body. Rip! He tore off his tattered clothes, revealing his powerful muscles. Like an enraged black bear, Liu Gang glared at Su Bai and said furiously, "You little bastard, I'll kill you." A dark shadow flashed as Liu Gang charged ferociously. Kill! Su Bai roared back. Facing a murderous felon like Liu Gang, he attacked without holding back. Bang! Their 4 fists collided. The powerful impact shattered the hard floor tiles beneath their feet. This straightforward clash of strength made Su Bai realize his power was superior. He withdrew his fist and kicked out. A heavy kick aimed at Liu Gang's chest. If it landed, the latter would break at least a few ribs. A flash of ferocity passed through Liu Gang's eyes. 2 sharp glints shone. 2 triangular bayonets appeared in his hands. Ignoring Su Bai's heavy kick, Liu Gang adopted a suicidal stance. With murderous intent, he drove the bayonets fiercely down at Su Bai's kicking leg. In the nick of time, a glint of sharpness flashed in Su Bai's eyes. A faint golden light emanated from his body. Golden body protection. Golden body shield. Su Bai immediately activated the 4 gates of the golden bell technique, his entire body radiating a faint golden glow as firm as diamond. The moment Liu Gang saw this golden light, his expression shifted to utter shock. "How is this possible?" he exclaimed in disbelief. Clang! Clang! The 2 triangular military daggers upon striking Su Bai's thigh shattered instantly, as if hitting an alloy steel plate. Bang! Su Bai's leg landed a solid blow on Liu Gang's chest. Crack! Crack! At least 7 ribs snapped on the spot. Puffed! Liu Gang spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body was kicked back over 10 meters through the air. With a loud crash, his back slammed heavily into a thick pillar in the hall. The pillar was deeply dented into a human-shaped crater. Then, with eyes wide open and mouth full of blood, Liu Gang fell weakly to the ground amid crumbling stones and dust. A cloud of debris and dust scattered. Su Bai gazed over, raising an eyebrow slightly, tough as nails. For an ordinary person, that kick would have shattered their internal organs and killed them instantly. But Su Bai clearly sensed that even with 7 or 8 broken ribs, Liu Gang still possessed a tenacious life force. Su Bai's eyes sharpened. Strike while the iron is hot. Whoosh! He lunged forward swiftly. A sweeping kick. Whoosh! 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 The violent force of his leg compressed the air, whistling fiercely. Bang! He struck Liu Gang viciously between the neck and shoulder. The latter's entire body spun like a ball kicked flying through the air. With another crash, he slammed heavily into a pillar at the other end of the hall. Su Bai looked over from a distance. Liu Gang's body had begun to twitch involuntarily. That last kick must have broken his cervical spine and spinal cord. Soon the life force within Liu Gang, as sensed by Su Bai, was rapidly diminishing. Su Bai let out a slight sigh of relief and turned to leave. Suddenly, 3 minutes earlier, at the periphery of Wanda Plaza, Song Wayman, who had been steadfast at his post for a full day and night, stared with bloodshot eyes fixed on the shopping mall. Suddenly, he saw several people open the glass door of KFC and escape. Those people appeared to be the trapped hostages. 2 of them helped up an elderly man who had been shot in the right leg and was lying on the ground holding up his phone. Finally, a woman emerged carrying a blood-drenched corpse on her back. Director Song, the hostages. "The hostages are out," exclaimed Tong Xiaoyan, the crisis negotiator, in pleasant surprise. "Mommy, mommy." The little girl, who had been continuously comforted by the female officer, suddenly cried out in overwhelming joy upon seeing the crowd. Song Wayman froze for a moment, then realized that these people were not hallucinations born from his extreme fatigue. He immediately ordered, "Hu Zi Old Chin, take the team and bring the hostages over now." "Yes," 2 voices responded in unison. 2 fully armed elite squads carrying loaded rifles and riot shields immediately advanced to escort the hostages to safety. The little girl joyfully rushed into her mother's arms, but upon seeing that her father had been shot dead, crystalline tears streamed down her face once more. Song Wayman quickly arranged for the injured to be carried to ambulances for treatment. Then he began questioning the escaped hostages about the specifics. What happened inside? How did you get out? And where is Liu Gang? A KFC employee, visibly stirred, responded excitedly. It was a young man. A young man in a school uniform. He burst in and snatched the gun from that wanted criminal. And he sent that criminal flying. That's how he managed to escape. Everyone was stunned upon hearing this. That's a bit far-fetched. A student suddenly appears, disarms a murderer, and saves so many people. Is this guy hallucinating after a narrow escape? The surrounding crowd buzzed with murmurs, finding the story hard to believe. Huzi, Old Chin, and the other officers also wore expressions of doubt. At that moment, the escaped hostages all stepped forward, recounting how Su Bai had saved them. This only deepened Huzi and Old Chin's bewilderment. Just then, the little girl's mother broke away from the medical team, rushed over, and tightly grasped Song Weiman's hand, pleading, Director, Song, please, you must save that student. He's just a child. Without him, none of us would have survived. Without him, my daughter would be an orphan. Whoa, I beg you, please save him. The mother, tears and sobs blending, was about to kneel on the spot. Song Weiman quickly held her up. Director Song, what's the plan? Should we charge in now? Huzi asked for instructions. While supporting the mother, Song Weiman immediately ordered, move out. We must bring that student out safely. Song Weiman didn't bother verifying the hostage's account. All he knew was that a student was still inside with a murderer and had to be rescued, just as Old Chin and Huzi were about to lead the charge. Bang, bang, bang. A series of dull, heavy roars continuously emanated from inside the mall. Everyone saw several first-floor windows shatter instantly, as if struck by flying debris. Dust spread from within. Some windows on the first-floor exterior even trembled slightly from the immense Witnessing such bizarre and astonishing disturbances, everyone's faces were etched with shock. What the hell is going on in there? Didn't they say only a student and the wanted criminal are left? This racket sounds like 2 bulldozers have been brought in to tear down the entire first-floor hall of Wanda Mall. The crowd watched in awe and discussion. Ranyua, the host of Nanshan Focus, immediately instructed the cameraman to capture the scene. Seeing this, Song Weiman's brow furrowed even more tightly. A thought struck him, recalling matters previously mentioned by the provincial bureau. He quickly cautioned his men. Old Chin, keep an eye on Huzi. Everyone proceed with caution. Yes, Director Song. The two led their teams, stepping forward. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Several black commercial vehicles sped down the street at high speed. Teams of mysterious figures in black trench coats leaped out. These individuals skillfully dispersed the crowd and prevented them from regrouping. Some immediately moved to confiscate cameras. The leader strode over to Song Weiman, presented a credential, and declared solemnly, Zhao Wu, captain of the Provincial 749 Bureau Detachment. Director Song, recall your men. From this moment on, everything here is under our full jurisdiction. From now on, everything here is under the full jurisdiction of our Bureau 749. Zhao Wu declared, coldly holding up his credentials and giving an unyielding command to Song Weiman. A team of elite individuals in black trench coats swiftly intercepted Lao Chin and Huzi. The two captains looked at the sudden scene before them in astonishment and immediately inquired through their police radios to Song Weiman. Director Song, who are these people? Do we have to obey their orders? Upon seeing Zhao Wu's credentials, Song Weiman instantly recognized that these individuals were the special forces long rumored within the military system. Given that the incident at the Wanda Plaza involved this special team, it was no longer something ordinary people like them could interfere with. Song Weiman immediately ordered Lao Chin and Huzi to lead a retreat. Then he saluted Zhao Wu and succinctly recounted the events and current situation. Upon hearing that the hostages had all been rescued, Zhao Wu's brow relaxed slightly. When he later heard the hostages say that a student had rushed in and blocked Liu Gang, allowing them to escape, a glint of sharp light flashed in Zhao Wu's eyes. After Song Weiman finished his report, he asked in a deep voice, Captain Zhao, please give us instructions on the next tasks for the Nanshan garrison. Although Zhao Wu was a squad leader, his rank was actually half a level above Song Weiman, the city-level garrison. Moreover, he had the authority to mobilize all municipal armed forces without needing to seek permission. In terms of both power and position, he was directly superior to Song Weiman. Zhao Wu gazed at the Wanda Plaza, where vibrations and muffled sounds erupted continuously, and without looking back he ordered, you garrison personnel from Nanshan, go seal off the roads and set up the security lines. Upon hearing this, Lao Chin and Huzi, who had returned with their team, felt a wave of displeasure surge in their hearts. As the elite first and second teams of the Nanshan garrison, they found themselves reduced to mere security personnel tasked with sealing roads and setting up security lines by Zhao Wu's orders. How can you talk to us like that? Huzi, impatient, couldn't help but jump out. Song Weiman grabbed him. A deputy beside Zhao Wu stepped forward to explain. Director Song, we don't have time to explain. For the safety of your subordinates and the citizens of Nanshan City, just focus on sealing off the roads and establishing security. The battle inside has already reached a transcendent level. The deputy thought for a moment and finally revealed a bit of information. Song Weiman's pupils widened slightly. Transcendent level. It seemed that the rumors circulating before were in. His heart sank immediately. Lao Qin Hu Zi and the negotiator Tong Xiaoyan beside him were left in a haze. But before they could ask anything, Song Weiman began assigning tasks. He ordered Lao Qin and Hu Zi to immediately arrange for their subordinates to block the roads and expand the security line, preventing any crowds from gathering. Once the arrangements were made, Song Weiman stood silently with the two captains and Tong Xiaoyan, watching the black-clad individuals work efficiently and in an orderly manner. Moments later, a black-clad individual approached. Zhao Wu saluted and reported, "Captain, we have obtained the camera footage. All phones in the crowd that had cameras or were taking pictures have been deleted. The citizens have been preliminarily evacuated, and the Nanshan garrison is currently sealing off the roads. Everything is ready." Zhao Wu nodded slightly. "Good. All units start checking equipment." The sounds of organizing and checking equipment rang out simultaneously. In less than 5 seconds, everything was ready for action. This display left Song Weiman and the others. From this simple detail, it was clear that these black-clad individuals were definitely elite warriors from the military system. Moreover, Song Weiman and the others noticed that Zhao Wu's team had somewhat unique equipment. In addition to firearms, several of them were actually carrying cold weapons like knives and swords. At this moment, Song Weiman suddenly recalled what the mother of that little girl had said and immediately saluted Zhao Wu, reporting, "Captain Zhao, please ensure that the student inside is rescued. Thanks to that child, he is our Nanshan cities." Here, in a critical moment, stepping up to rescue so many hostages. Su Bei's actions were undoubtedly deserving of the title of hero in Song Weiman's eyes. Zhao Wu glanced at Song Weiman and said, "Director Song, if what you say is true, then this student must have awakened and stepped into the transcendent realm." Indeed, the commotion coming from inside is precisely that student battling Lu Gang. Upon hearing this, Song Weiman's gaze fixed on the Wanda Plaza, leaving him momentarily stunned. "Begin the operation to capture the wanted criminal Lu Gang." "Yes." All the black-clad individuals responded coldly. Just then suddenly, Hu Zi, Lao Qin, and Tong Xiaoyan finally grasped some of the content, their faces filled with disbelief as they exclaimed. Zhao Wu ignored their reactions and directly commanded, "The combat team will clear the way and the logistics team will follow behind. Begin the operation to capture the wanted criminal Lu Gang." "Yes." All the black-clad individuals responded coldly. Just then suddenly, Zhao Wu's expression suddenly changed. "Forbidden drugs. Damn it. Lu Gang actually brought forbidden drugs." Zhao Wu's eyes flashed like cold lightning as he scanned the interior of the Wanda Plaza. Clang under the astonished gazes of Song Weiman and the others, Zhao Wu drew a sharp long sword from his waist and led all the black-clad individuals towards the Wanda Plaza. Behind Zhao Wu, 2 teams of black-clad individuals spread out around him like the wings of a goose advancing towards the main entrance of the Wanda Plaza. Meanwhile, in the first-floor hall of the Wanda Plaza, thinking he had killed Lu Gang, Su Bai, who was about to turn and leave, suddenly stopped and abruptly turned around. He saw Lu Gang staggering, surprisingly rising again from the rubble. A faint, eerie blood-red glow emanated from his body, continuously swirling. Su Bai also sensed a fierce and brutal aura surging from Lu Gang's body like a wildfire spreading. Su Bei's brow furrowed slightly. He suddenly felt as if he were facing not a person but a mad, dying beast. This strange sensation made Su Bei's heart grow wary. Damn it. So it turns out you little brat have completely unsealed your awakening. At such a young age you are about to unlock your first genetic lock. Humph, such potential is truly extraordinary. Lu Gang raised his head. Upon seeing his face, Su Bei's expression suddenly grew serious. Su Bai stared grimly at Lu Gang's contorted face. It could no longer be called a human face. His eyes were threaded with a web of bloodshot veins as red as crystal. On his face, thick veins and blood vessels bulged out, crawling across his forehead and cheeks like writhing. Blood dripped from the corners of Lu Gang's mouth. For half-meter-long blood-red fangs protruded from his upper and lower jaws, jutting out savagely. Coupled with the crimson blood trickling down his head like slender snakes, his ghastly, hideous face was even more terrifying and gruesome than a demon's. Su Bai also noticed that Lu Gang held a portable syringe in his right hand. The needle was already inserted into his left arm. He had clearly injected half a tube of an unknown blood-red liquid. Seeing this, Su Bai, though unaware of the syringe's contents, could tell Lu Gang was fighting with everything he had. Without a second word, he charged forward, denying Lu Gang the chance to inject the remaining half. With a swift step, Su Bai closed in on Lu Gang in the span of a breath. His right fist shot out with explosive force. A monstrous power of over 2,400 gene, more than a ton, aimed straight for Lu Gang's head. Lu Gang sneered and sidestepped with a swift movement. Su Bei's fist slammed into a massive hall pillar behind him, blasting a deep crater into it. Half his arm was buried in the debris. He pulled it out, his gaze cold and sharp as he turned to Liu Gang, a chill of caution running through him. Liu Gang's movements were nearly twice as fast as during their earlier fight. Trying to stop me. Ha, it's too late. You little bastard, you forced my hand. I'm dead meat today, but you won't live either. Liu Gang roared without hesitation. He injected the remaining half of the syringe. Thump, thump, thump. The sound of Liu Gang's heartbeat grew suddenly heavy and violent. Blood surged wildly through his veins. His burly frame swelled and thickened by an entire size. Dense, tough black hair sprouted from every part of his body like spring bamboo shoots after rain. In an instant, Liu Gang resembled a humanoid black bear. The ferocious aura emanating from him boiled over like scalding water. Die! Su Bai bellowed, charging forward to interrupt Liu Gang's transformation. The latter grinned savagely and advanced to meet him. Thump, thump, thump. Their fists clashed, dull explosions echoing continuously. Terrifying force measured in tons rampaged through the first-floor hall of Wanda Mall. Floor tiles shattered. Deep craters exploded. Pillars snapped. In less than half a minute, the entire hall was reduced to a pile of rubble. With another clash, Su Bai and Liu Gang sprang apart, standing about 7 or 8 meters apart facing each other. "Ah, you little bastard, he'll kill you." Liu Gang roared in fury. Blood spurted from behind his shoulders. Su Bai saw 2 thick black-haired arms growing from Liu Gang's back. At that moment, Liu Gang's entire body was covered in black hair, veins bulging, eyes blood red, forearms flailing. Blood dripped from his mouth as he howled in rage. He was nothing less than a terrifying humanoid beast. With a roar, Liu Gang charged forward. Su Bai, showing no fear or retreat, met him head-on. Both were giving their all. This strike would surely decide life and death. The air whistled as they closed the distance to less than 2 meters in just over a second. For hairy, faintly blood-tinged claws came crashing down. 2 golden glowing fists met them just as their attacks were about to collide. Su Bai's eyes hardened. With a thought, he split his focus. The silver-scaled eel avatar from the monster space shot out instantly. A flash of light. The eel's 3.8-meter-long body coiled around Liu Gang's neck, binding his 4 beastly arms tightly. The descending attack was neutralized in an instant. Die! Su Bai's golden fist slammed into Liu Gang's chest. In a split second, life and death were decided. Crack, crack. Every rib in Liu Gang's chest shattered. Thud. The heart trembling in his chest was pulverized into bloody pulp by the explosive force of Su. Liu Gang couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood mixed with organ fragments. He stared at Su Bai in disbelief, then down at the silver-scaled eel binding his neck and arms. His bloodshot eyes were filled with fury and unwillingness. With his heart destroyed, blood streamed from his 7 orifices and chest. His life force drained rapidly. The 2 extra beastly arms dissolved into bloody water, splashing to the ground. The animal hair fell off like willow catkins in the wind. The bulging veins burst with a series of popping sounds. Blood spots and clots spread across his skin in an instant. In the final moments of life, his blood-red eyes finally cleared. Liu Gang stared fixedly at Su Bai, a bitter smile on his blood-stained lips. "You little bastard. So you had such a killing move. Humph, it doesn't matter if I die. Everything is ready. Ha ha ha, my mission is complete. They'll be waiting for you down there, and then..." "Enough chatter. Die." Su Bai snapped coldly. His right fist shot out, smashing into Liu Gang's forehead. With a thud, the wanted murderer's head shattered like a watermelon dropped on the ground. Red and white matter splattered 7 or 8 meters away. The headless, mangled corpse swayed and crashed to the floor. Class A fugitive Liu Gang was dead beyond any doubt. Su Bai finally let out a long breath, relaxing. With a thought, he withdrew the silver-scaled eel avatar into the monster space. With no one around and the cameras off, he had dared to use his avatar for the killing blow. The effect was excellent. Fighting together with his avatar more than doubled his combat power. Su Bai surveyed the ruined hall, silently assessing his current strength. Behind him, a series of glass-shattering sounds rang out. Accompanied by the steady tramp of footsteps, Zhao Wu led 2 teams of black-clad men charging in. Behind them, Song Weiman and others arrived with guns drawn. As they entered, everyone's eyes were wide with shock. Everyone stared at the mall hall, which was even more shattered than ruins, their gazes frozen in shock. Soon they saw Su Bai, the only one still standing in the arena. Apart from his torn school uniform, Su Bai was almost unscathed. The air was thick with the pungent smell of blood. All eyes involuntarily fell upon Liu Gang's headless corpse. In that instant, everyone's thoughts ground to a halt. Their expressions shifted from bewilderment to surprise, then to awe. Finally, it morphed into sheer terror and disbelief. Song Weiman and the others arriving last were stunned. How could a battle between a student and a wanted criminal unleash such destructive force? The hall looked as if it had endured a squad-level skirmish. Achieving such devastation would require countless grenades. Human strength could reach such terrifying heights. What shocked Zhao Wu and his team from Bureau 749 was that Su Bai, so young, still a student, had managed to obliterate Liu Gang, a felon with supernatural powers, without a scratch. The strength and potential this represented stirred a tempest in Zhao Wu's heart. He quickly regained his composure and strode over to Su Bai. Su Bai eyed the sudden appearance of Zhao Wu and his men clad in black with caution. Zhao Wu unfazed approached and extended his hand. "Hello, student. I'm Zhao Wu, squad leader of Bureau 749 in Nanjiang Province, Longhua. Pleased to meet you." His demeanor, once cold towards Song Weiman and the others, softened considerably with Su Bai. Seeing Song Weiman behind Zhao Wu, Su Bai quickly realized these were allies. "Captain Zhao, hello. I'm Su Bai, a senior at Nanshan High School." He shook hands briefly, his guard lowered, but curiosity lingering in his eyes. He couldn't even make out how many wheels there were. Finally, the other wheels quickly dissipated. Only the first one remained, a circular wheel emitting a faint golden. "Bureau 749 handles incidents like this," Zhao Wu said, pointing at Liu Gang's headless corpse. Su Bai followed his gaze. Beside the corpse, 3 skilled operatives in black, wearing blue sterile gloves, were already analyzing the cause of death and collecting information. Other operatives began photographing and documenting every trace of battle to reconstruct the fight. Each such incident required archiving within the Bureau. Su Bai withdrew his gaze and nodded slightly. He realized that Longhua had long established a special department for such matters. So the rumors online weren't baseless after all. Su Bai mused silently. Then Zhao Wu began questioning him about the fight and Liu Gang's every word. Su Bai held nothing back, recounting every detail. After hearing him out, Zhao Wu furrowed his brow. "Su Bai, did Liu Gang really say that this world is on the brink of a cataclysm?" He confirmed again. Su Bai nodded solemnly. "Yes. He also said his mission was complete. Everything is ready." Zhao Wu's pupils dilated instantly, his face turning grim and grave. A whirlwind of air suddenly swept through the hall. An oppressive aura centered on Zhao Wu erupted. Everyone looked at Zhao Wu in terror. In that moment, the overwhelming presence made their hearts tremble. It felt like an ant encountering an elephant. Su Bai, closest to him, was startled. Such a powerful aura. Zhao Wu was many times stronger than Liu Gang. Instinctively, Su Bai tensed his muscles and activated his golden body shield. A faint golden light emanated from his skin. The golden light snapped Zhao Wu back to reality. He reined in his aura and apologized to Su Bai. Then from an inner pocket of his black coat, he produced 2 test tubes and handed them to Su Bai. One contained a pale red liquid, the other a pale blue one. "At your age, you've already comprehended and mastered source power. Incredible. The bounty for killing a wanted criminal like Liu Gang is far from sufficient. I'm giving you these 2 potions instead. They will greatly aid you in unlocking your first gene lock," Zhao Wu said gravely. "Thank you, Captain Zhao." Su Bai's face lit up as he accepted and stored them. He now knew that the energy driving his golden body shield was called source power. Finally, Zhao Wu cautioned Su Bai, "Keep today's events confidential, especially Liu Gang's true strength and his words. He'll say no more for now. We'll meet again next week." Su Bai understood the gravity and was not one to... But what did Zhao Wu mean by meeting next week? Su Bai was puzzled. Before he could ask, Zhao Wu had Song Weiman arrange for someone to escort him back. Huzi eagerly took on the task. In the hall, Zhao Wu and Song Weiman watched Su Bai leave their expression. Zhao Wu turned to glance at Old Qin and Tong Xiaoyun, then fixed his gaze on Song Weiman. "Director Song, instruct your men to strictly adhere to the first-level confidentiality regulations issued by the Military Equipment Department. You all know what to say and what not to say about this student and today's events." "Yes, Captain Zhao." Song Weiman saluted and immediately complied. Old Qin and Tong Xiaoyun also saluted in earnest. Zhao Wu sighed with emotion. "Director Song, Liu Gang was right about one thing. This world is indeed about to undergo a great upheaval. The Provincial Bureau and the headquarters in the capital have already made a series of arrangements. You'll receive orders soon. That's why I allowed you to witness this scene. The world will grow harsher. The bloodstains hidden behind the veil of this world will spread more one. But no matter what, I hope you remember your duty, always prioritize public safety and social stability." "Yes, Captain Zhao." Song Weiman and the others saluted and responded promptly. Zhao Wu didn't elaborate, yet the mere hint of information left Song Weiman and the others shocked and appalled. Zhao Wu, aware of the impact on them, didn't delve deeper. Zhao Wu stared fixedly at Su Bai, who had already walked out of the main entrance, murmuring to himself, "Such a young, transcendent figure. Director Song, do you realize what this means?" Song Weiman shook his head. Since the Dragon Kingdom established the first headquarters of Bureau 749 in the imperial capital across all departments, only a handful of peerless prodigies have attained such strength at this age, and each of them went on to achieve extraordinary feats. Zhao Wu uttered in a somber tone. His words sent a shock through Song Weiman and the others, leaving them awestruck. Everyone gazed into the distance at Su Bai's remarkably youthful receding figure, finding it hard to believe. Tap, tap, tap. Suddenly the sound of footsteps echoed from behind. The deputy, also clad in a black trench coat, immediately approached Zhao Wu to report. Reporting, Captain. We've searched everything thoroughly. Lu Gang doesn't have that item on him. Zhao Wu frowned deeply upon hearing this. Could it be that the item isn't on Lu Gang? The deputy replied. Zhao Wu pondered for a moment, then shook his head with a fairly confident demeanor. The battle at the director's side ended long ago, and they didn't find that item either. At the time, Lu Gang was the only one who escaped from there. Only he had the chance to bring that item out. Then Zhao Wu turned to Song Weiman and asked Director Song, "Tell me in detail about your previous pursuit of..." Song Weiman immediately recounted every grid search operation in the Southern Hills to Zhao Wu. After listening, Zhao Wu ordered, "Don't withdraw the personnel from the Southern Hills. Continue searching for a cylindrical silver-white object. Once found, do not act rashly. Report to me immediately." Song Weiman saluted and nodded, promptly agreeing and heading off to make arrangements. At the same time, in the wooded mountains near Nanshan City in the Southern Hills, beneath an inconspicuous large rock, in a shady spot both dark and damp, with a faint rustling sound, a red-headed centipede crawled out. Its thousand-legged body, striped in red and black, slithered across the soil in search of food. Suddenly, rumble. The entire patch of earth began to tremble violently, as if struck by an earthquake. Small pebbles and soil rose and fell in undulating waves. The red-headed centipede fled in panic and terror. The next moment, an invisible, mysterious, rippling wave spread outward like water rings. With a splat, the entire millipede body burst apart into a mess of green insect pulp and fur. As the mysterious rippling wave spread rapidly, not only here, but across all the wooded areas of the Southern Hills, anomalies began to occur. All snakes, ants, insects, and vermin scurried about frantically like headless flies, or curled up, writhing in agony on the ground. Then some dashed their heads against rocks, dying on the spot. Others plunged into mountain streams, drowning themselves. This bizarre anomaly, though vast in its reach, remained remarkably covert. It had almost no effect on large creatures. The elite security personnel searching the mountains only felt a slight chill, utterly unaware of what had transpired. After the invisible, mysterious, rippling wave dissipated, bang, the soil beneath the large rock exploded, and a cylindrical object suddenly emerged halfway from the ground. Bathed in sunlight, the exposed section revealed a silver-white, cylindrical artifact. Someone had buried it here for reasons unknown. Beep, beep, beep. Suddenly, the object emitted a few sounds, and a red indicator light glowed at its top. A faint flickering crimson luminescence pulsed intermittently. Clicking and clacking sounds of mechanisms arose one after another. Boom! A blast rang out as earth and stone shattered. The object plunged straight into the depths of the ground. The burst of energy shattered the large rock. Rubble and flying soil instantly buried all trace. Outside the Wanda Mall, Su Bai and Hu Zi strode out in large steps. Hu Zi summoned a group of security personnel to clear the way for Su Bai. Although the security personnel had set up a long cordon and blocked the roads, as time passed, more and more curious onlookers gathered. The road closure, the confiscation of film, the forced deletion of photos taken on phones, the strange tremors in the mall, and the rumors from those who escaped that a student had saved them. These unusual phenomena wildly piqued people's curiosity. Ran Yue, the host of Nanshan Focus, had been waiting with her cameraman. She was a rather ambitious girl, new to her job and eager to make her mark. Today she had finally found a promising news story. Ran Yu had even brainstormed various eye-catching headlines to craft once she returned. But at the critical moment, she was doused with cold water as the men in black confiscated her film. She called the station's leadership to inquire. To her utter astonishment, the station director ordered her to fully cooperate with the men in black. Without it, Ran Yu handed over the film, but still feeling a pang of reluctance, she remained there hoping to dig up more news. Finally, she saw Su Bai emerge. Could this student be the one who saved the hostages in the mall? Ran Yu's heart stirred. His school uniform and the special treatment of having a full squad of elite security personnel clearing the path made Ran Yu's beautiful eyes sparkle. She signaled the cameraman, then dashed towards Su Bai, microphone in hand. Su Bai, escorted by Hu Zi and the security personnel, made his way through the crowd. The surrounding crowd buzzed with chatter. Wow, he's so young. Was it him who saved all those people? No idea. They just said it was a student, not sure if it's him. No need to ask. With all these security personnel escorting him, it has to be. Truly a hero is born young. I heard the fugitive had a gun. What? My goodness, that's incredible. The fugitive had a gun, yet this young man saved so many people without a scratch. Tisk, remarkable, truly remarkable. The distant onlookers kept murmuring, and some asked Hu Zi what was happening inside. Hu Zi replied, "Everyone rest assured. As the wanted notice said, he was a murder fugitive. He has now been successfully neutralized by elites from the provincial bureau." Hu Zi's somewhat official statement helped calm the crowd, and then he fell silent. At that moment, Suddenly 2 figures pushed through the crowd and rushed ahead of Su Bai and his escort. Ran Yue, who hadn't yet arrived, froze. Su Bai and Hu Zi were also stunned. The gathered onlookers widened their eyes in curiosity. Su Bai fixed his gaze. The figures bursting through the crowd were a large and a small one, the little girl's mother and the child who had been crying for her parents. The resilient woman, her face still wrapped in bandages, expressed her gratitude to Su Bai with her daughter. Thank you, child. Heaven has opened its eyes. You finally made it out. Good deeds bring good fortune. I'm so relieved you're safe. Come, Lingling. This is the benefactor who saved your mother. Kneel and thank him. The mother's voice trembled with emotion. She even attempted to kneel with her daughter before Su Bai. He quickly stopped her, offering gentle words of comfort. He did not reveal Lu Gang's true strength. Following the lead Hu Zi had set, Su Bai credited all the heroic deeds to the elite forces of the Security Bureau and the provincial authorities. Not far away, Ran Yu seized the opportunity as the procession halted, rushing over. She thrust the microphone towards Su Bai, asking, "Student, what motivated you to step forward in such a dangerous situation?" Su Bai fell silent at the question. Hu Zi, Lingling, and her mother Ran Yue and the gathered crowd all turned their eyes to him. Su Bai looked at the tearful little girl, his gaze tender. "I didn't think much before rushing in. I just thought, I'm an orphan myself. I didn't want Lingling to become one too." As he spoke, Su Bai gently ruffled Lingling's hair, a bittersweet, complex smile flickering across his face. This moment silenced everyone. Su Bai composed himself, checked the time, bid a simple farewell to Lingling and her mother, and left with Hu Zi parting the crowd. Once Su Bai was in the car, the crowd erupted in exclamations of admiration. Ran Yue, moved by his simple, sincere words, felt a deep resonance. She turned to the cameraman. "Brother, where did you get all that?" The cameraman gave a wry smile. The station director gave direct orders. "I'm forbidden from recording or filming anything related to the people or events coming out of Wanda Mall. Sorry, Xiaoya. I need this job." Ran Yu nodded in understanding, feeling a pang of disappointment. The cameraman added, "But the director said you can write a report, a brief one on the incident. Just be mindful of the tone. He'll review it personally." Ran Yu's spirits lifted. At least this trip hadn't been a waste. Then, recalling the director's repeated instructions, she realized that delving into the specific details of the Wanda Mall arrests was off limits. To highlight the story's appeal, she would need to focus elsewhere. Su Bei's words sparked an idea, and a rough draft began to form in her mind. In the crowd, Lingling tugged at her mother's hand. The woman withdrew her gaze from Su Bai, knelt down, and gently stroked her daughter's head. "What is it?" Lingling's voice was clear and crisp. "Mommy, I saw a golden light on that big brother." The mother's expression shifted instantly. She quickly glanced around with heightened vigilance. Seeing that the bustling crowd paid no attention to them, she breathed a sigh of relief. She whispered solemnly to her daughter, Lingling, "You must remember, never tell anyone about the lights you see or the things you mentioned to me before. Don't talk about it outside either. If you need to say something, well, talk at home where no one can hear. Do you understand?" Lingling nodded obediently. The woman smiled with relief, casting a lingering glance in the direction Su Bai had gone, murmuring, "Good people will be rewarded." With that, she took her daughter's hand and walked toward the ambulance. Over there, Lingling's father's body had already been loaded onto the vehicle. Meanwhile, Su Bai got into the car. Hu Zi started the engine, glancing at Su Bai in the rearview mirror. "Su Bai, where do you live? We'll take you home." Su Bai shook his head slightly. "Brother, who take me to Nanshan now? Free high school. It's Friday. I still have classes." Hu Zi smiled wryly, reminded that Su Bai was still a senior high school student. His mind flashed back to the terrifying destruction he had witnessed inside Wanda Mall. The shock and disbelief deepened. An ordinary-looking high school student, yet his battle had reduced nearly the entire first floor of the mall to rubble. It sounded like a fairy tale, yet it had unfolded right before his eyes. Hu Zi sighed in amazement. "Sure thing," he replied, turning the wheel toward Nanshan No. Free high school. Su Bai habitually gazed out the window. The crowd watched them leave. Su Bei's eyes swept across the scene and suddenly narrowed. His gaze fixed on a young man in a t-shirt at the back of the crowd. On the young man's right arm was a tattoo identical to those of Sang-go and his gang. His eyes held a probing, scrutinizing look as he stared in Su Bei's direction. When his eyes met Su Bei's, he flinched as if shocked, quickly averting his gaze. Then, without looking back, he slipped out of the crowd and disappeared. Su Bei's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. The young man's presence here seemed suspicious. Could Sang-go's men be monitoring him, plotting revenge? Su Bai dismissed the thought. For someone like him, now ordinary thugs like Sang-go, even with guns, posed no threat. Once the silver-scaled eel clone underwent a few more evolutions, even large-caliber shells, or even nuclear weapons, might become powerless against him. Su Bei's longing for greater power grew stronger. He immediately thought of the 2 mysterious vials Zhao Wu had given him. With some time left before reaching school, Su Bai took out the 2 vials from the back seat and studied them. As his gaze fell on the red and blue vials, a system prompt echoed in his mind. Detected heart core blood essence of a supernatural being. Detected brain core essence of a supernatural being. 2 prompts faded, and Subai saw lines of information appear before his eyes, visible only to him. The lines appeared beneath each vial. The red one was heart core blood essence. Heart core potion refined from a supernatural being's heart core blood essence through multiple processes. Effect when consumed by the host's clone, it grants a large amount of evolution points. The host's physical strength is also significantly enhanced. Quality 1 star. The blue one was brain core essence. Brain core potion refined from a supernatural being's brain core essence through multiple processes. Effect when consumed by the host's clone, it grants a large amount of evolution points. The host's mental strength is also significantly enhanced. Quality 1 star. After reading the descriptions, Subai's face lit up with joy. He glanced at the front seat. Huzi was driving intently. Without a change in expression, Subai fed the light-red heart core potion into the monster space. Multitasking, he commanded the silver-scaled eel clone to swallow the entire vial in one gulp. The fragile glass shattered under sharp teeth. The light-red liquid was consumed entirely. A cool icy sensation like drinking iced cola came through from the clone. A system prompt echoed in Subai's mind. Your clone has consumed a 1-star heart core potion, gaining 300 evolution points. Your physical strength has increased by 30 points. A torrent of heat composed of 300 evolution points surged within the body of the silver-scaled eel avatar, boiling instantly. The 3-meter-8 long eel body suddenly swelled to a terrifying length of 4 meters and 5. The entire body had grown a full circle in size. For Subai, the enhancement of 30 points in physical strength sent a tremor through his entire being. The scalding heat flowed like a tide boiling within him. His physical strength surged rapidly. With every breath, he felt an explosive increase in power, intoxicating Subai beyond measure. Soon he discovered something quite strange. After his physical strength reached 2,400 gene and enhanced to 4,999 gene, it stopped increasing. The increase in body strength also capped at 29.9. It felt as if he had reached the current limit of his physical strength. At the same time, Subai distinctly sensed the presence of those shackles. It felt entirely different from before. At this moment, he could feel that there were shackles all over his body, restricting the power of his physical form. It would require immense strength to unlock these shackles. Every time a shackle was opened, a new world would unfold. Each shackle unlocked would reveal a brand new secret of the physical body. Within them lay a terrifyingly powerful force. At the instant he sensed these shackles, a sudden enlightenment arose in Subai's mind. It was as if this memory had been inherited within the biological genes for millions of years. The moment he triggered the sensation of these shackles, the memories would emerge naturally. Subai immediately realized that these must be the genetic locks that Lu Gang and Zhao Wu had mentioned. He never expected that this theoretical treasure and limitation of the human body actually existed. Subai was elated. A faint golden light flickered in his eyes, shining brilliantly. He took a deep breath, calming his mind, and focused his energy. Subai carefully sensed. He found that among all the shackles, only the one around his heart was exceptionally clear. The shackles in other locations felt very vague. Some of them, he couldn't even sense the exact position. Thump thump. The sound of his heartbeat under Subai's deliberate sensing suddenly magnified, becoming heavy and powerful. In the realm of his mind, Subai saw a white ring encircling his heart chamber. This ring was the first genetic lock of the human body. Subai tried to reach out with his spirit to touch that ring, but he couldn't get close at all, let alone unlock it. With a thought, the flows of chi from all parts of his body, the source power, continuously surged toward the heart chamber. However, aside from making his heart beat faster and his body stronger, there was no change at all. This source power couldn't touch the existence of the first heart ring genetic lock. At that moment, unable to find a breakthrough, confusion filled Subai's heart. He subconsciously lowered his head in contemplation. Suddenly, he noticed another vial of light blue brain nucleus medicine in his hand. Could it be that his mental strength also had to reach the critical limit to touch and unlock this first genetic lock? Subai's heart stirred. Without saying a word, he fed the brain nucleus medicine into the beast's space. Upon seeing the medicine vial again, the silver-scaled eel avatar immediately conveyed a strong sense of desire to Subai. Splash! The long silver-white body leapt, sending water splashing, and jumped onto the surface, catching the brain nucleus medicine in its mouth. With a loud crack, it bit the vial, swallowing the entire medicine. As soon as this vial of light blue brain nucleus medicine went down, it felt as refreshing as gulping down a mouthful of ice-cold water on a scorching summer day. Your avatar has consumed a star brain nucleus medicine, gaining 300 evolution points. Your mental strength, 30 points. With the system's announcement, the size of the silver-scaled eel avatar suddenly swelled again. Subai felt a refreshing chill sweep over his entire body, ultimately converging and infusing into his mind. Boom! At the moment this torrent of brain nucleus essence entered his mind, a sound only Subai could hear suddenly erupted. It was as if the chaotic sound of the world being created echoed. At that moment Subai's eyes widened to their limits, feeling as if everything before him had undergone a tremendous transformation. His vision became incredibly clear. It felt like a thick veil or fog had covered his eyes before. Now all obstructions had vanished in an instant. In his sight all colors and scenery became sharper. Subai glanced over and noticed a peace charm hanging from the rearview mirror of the front seat. Below the charm a total of 23 red strings dangled as tassels. He even saw a fly buzzing in through the open car window. He could even see the segments on the fly's legs. Besides that, Subai sensed that his hearing had also become exceeded. The sound of the wind outside the car, the conversations of pedestrians on the street, and the market sounds around the next corner. Subai felt that as long as he wanted to hear, he could focus and catch it all. Vision, hearing. Even the five senses underwent significant changes at this moment. The massive increase in sensory information allowed Subai to gain a deeper understanding of this world. The refreshing essence of the brain nucleus flooded his entire head. Subai felt a lightness in his mind. It had previously felt like a hard drive packed with junk files lagging terribly. Now not only had all the junk been cleared out, but the storage capacity of his mind had also increased, and his processor had become more advanced. Subai felt his thinking became several times more agile. The organization of his thoughts became clearer. He felt much smarter. Just then the system prompt suddenly echoed in his mind. Detected that the host's physical strength has reached the critical limit, 29. 9. Detected that the host's mental strength has reached the critical limit, 29. 9. The first genetic lock has been successfully triggered and activated. Would the host like to unlock it? Subai was overjoyed to hear this long-awaited system prompt, and quickly responded, unlock. As soon as he spoke, the pale golden source power within him and the mental power in his mind surged and boiled. Both powers rushed towards Subai's heart chamber. Moreover, they merged together within the heart chamber. Subai finally sensed very clearly the white heart ring lock encircling his heart chamber. At this moment his spirit surged. He knew that once he unlocked this shackle before him, he would step into the true extraordinary realm from then on. He would possess various terrifying powers beyond imagination. A surge of ambition arose in Subai's heart, and he bellowed in the realm of his mind. First genetic lock open. As Subai roared within his mental world, the mysterious force born from the convergence of source energy and spiritual power in his heart chamber surged fiercely toward the white circular shackle binding his heart. With a sharp crack like the shattering of a silver vase or the snapping of chains, a brittle sound echoed through Subai's spiritual realm. A faint hum of vibration followed. Soon Subai sensed invisible ripples like water rings spreading from his heart chamber, radiating outward. In the blink of an eye they spread throughout his entire body. At that moment Subai couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief, as if he had finally shed a 100-pound weighted garment he had been wearing. A profound sense of release washed over him. With the heart-ring gene lock shattered, Subai's heartbeat grew deeper and more powerful. The sound resembled the pounding of a heavy oxhide drum, exuding a sense of robust strength. Outside, Huzi, who was driving, suddenly heard this muffled rhythmic heartbeat. Puzzled, he glanced out the window, and upon spotting a street performance troupe nearby, suddenly understood. Huzi assumed it was the acrobats drumming on the street. Meanwhile, the true culprit Subai sat in the back seat with closed eyes, undergoing earth-shattering internal transformations. His physical and spiritual strengths, previously stuck at their critical limits, began to surge rapidly. The residual power of heart cores and brain cores from the two previous doses hidden deep within Subai's body now erupted and surged forth. 30 points, 31 points. His physical strength soared to 35 points while his spiritual strength rose to 33 points. The remaining medicinal power was consumed during the gene lock breakthrough. After unlocking the gene lock, Subai's physical might broke into new territory, surging from 4999 gene to 600 gene, a terrifying force of 3 tons. Beyond strength, his agility, explosive power, and other physical attributes all increased several-fold. Then Subai discovered that after unlocking the heart-ring gene lock, his heart underwent a remarkable transformation. After the white circular shackle shattered, about half of its fragments merged into his heart, forming a peculiar space within. Congratulations, host. You have successfully formed the heart core space. Heart core space, a special space for storing a superhuman's source energy. A heart core space for storing source energy. Hearing the system notification in his mind, Subai's face lit up with joy. He quickly sensed that the moment the heart core space condensed, the merged source energy and spiritual power swiftly separated. Source energy naturally flowed along the circulation route of the golden bell shield, cycling through his body. Finally, the amplified pale golden source energy no longer scattered as gaseous currents throughout his body. Instead, it converged into the heart core space, forming a pale golden mist of source energy that gently floated and undulated. Next, Su-bai saw the other half of the heart-ring gene lock fragments rise swiftly into his head, forming another mysterious space. Congratulations, host. You have successfully formed the brain core space. Brain core space, a special space for storing a superhuman's spiritual power. As the brain core space formed, Su-bai's spiritual power returned to it, manifesting as a visible pale silver mist. After the two spaces formed, Su-bai opened his eyes. A flash of pale gold and pale silver light flickered through his pupils. He clenched his fists slightly, feeling surging boundless power within. Su-bai felt that if he faced Liu Gang again, even if the latter used forbidden drugs, he could crush him with a single punch within 3 moves. Thus, Su-bai's first gene lock was fully unlocked. He had truly become a superhuman with a first stage. On his system panel, the level column had changed. Level 1 first stage gene lock, now displaying a gene. As Su-bai examined the panel, the system notification sounded again. Congratulations, host. You have successfully advanced to level 1 first stage gene lock, earning 1 roulette draw. Preparing the roulette wheel. Congratulations, host. You have triggered a precious grade roulette wheel with a 5 trigger chance. Precious grade roulette wheel ready. Host, would you like to start the draw? A precious grade wheel. Su-bai's eyes lit up. Last time, the intermediate grade wheel yielded the sensing tentacle skill, a highly practical ability for avatars. What treasures might this rarer precious grade wheel bring? Full of anticipation, Su-bai immediately responded, start the draw. The precious grade roulette wheel glowing with golden light appeared before him. The crimson pointer spun with a clicking sound, finally stopping on a robust figure shrouded in black gauze. It's for the main body. Su-bai realized at once. Congratulations, host. You have drawn the Dragon's Roar Iron Shirt. Dragon's Roar Iron Shirt, a precious grade powerful body tempering and killing technique. It has 12 levels. With each level mastered, a protective gauze layer forms on the body, offering formidable defense. After mastering 6 levels, one gains a close combat killing skill, Merciless Iron Hand. After 12 levels, a mid-range killing skill, Dragon's Roar Iron Hand. Tip: crush it to learn. With the notification, the roulette will transformed into a crystal and entered his storage. With a thought, Su-bai took the crystal in hand. A perfect boon. He had been seeking a powerful offensive skill, and now came a technique that enhanced both defense and attack. Without hesitation, Su-bai quietly crushed the crystal in the back seat, instantly mastering the Dragon's Roar Iron Shirt. Cracking sounds of bones and sinews resonated within him. Finally, they condensed into a majestic dragon's roar. In mere seconds, Su-bai had fully comprehended and mastered all 12 levels of the Dragon's Roar Iron Shirt. He understood every secret of this precious technique. Channeling source energy, Su-bai executed Merciless Iron Hand. A faint black glow immediately emanated from his right hand. Su-bai clearly felt the immense destructive power within that black iron hand. With another thought, he unleashed Dragon's Roar Iron Hand. A small pale black misty dragon had appeared in his palm. Gazing at it, Su-bai felt that if he met Liu Gang again, this single Dragon's Roar Iron Hand would shatter his organs and kill him instantly. Withdrawing the source energy, the pale black misty dragon had dissipated. Su-bai then checked the system panel of his silver-scaled eel avatar. The evolution points were sufficient. Detected that your avatar's evolution points are sufficient. Host, would you like to begin evolution? Begin evolution. Su-bai responded with bright eyes upon hearing the system prompt. After devouring 2 vials of the potion, his silver-scaled eel avatar had already accumulated 621 evolution points. As Su-bai's command fell, 100 evolution points instantly transformed into surging heat currents flowing and churning within the avatar's body. A golden light of evolution radiated from the avatar's surface. After a brief moment, Su-bai immediately beheld a more ferocious silver-scaled eel avatar. Evolution successful. Congratulations, host. Your avatar has successfully mastered a new skill, Thermal Sense LV4. It actually comprehended a new skill. A surge of joy welled up in Su-bai's heart. He turned his gaze toward the silver-scaled eel avatar and immediately noticed its transformation. The pair of fish eyes on its eel head had turned a blazing crimson. Within them lurked a chilling, ruthless aura of murderous intent. Inside its slightly parted eel mouth, 4 rows of dense razor-sharp teeth curved into barbed hooks. Su-bai had no doubt that if this ferocious, hideous maw bit down, it would tear off a large chunk of bloody flesh, skin and all. Its body size hadn't increased much, but the beautiful silver-white scales covering it had evolved to become thicker and tougher. Looking closely, Su-bai could even see faint wisps of silvery white light constantly flowing and shifting across the surface of the silver-scaled eel avatar's scales. Surveying the fully evolved silver-scaled eel avatar, Su-bai immediately felt a resilient and fierce aura rushing toward him. Just as he was about to examine the effects of the new skill, the system prompt suddenly echoed in his mind again. Congratulations, host. Your avatar has successfully evolved to level 4, rewarding you with 1 roulette draw opportunity. The roulette wheel is being prepared. Congratulations, host. You have triggered the advanced roulette wheel with a trigger probability of 10. The advanced roulette wheel is ready. Host, would you like to start the draw? Today is truly a stroke of incredible luck. Just moments ago, I triggered the rare roulette wheel with a mere 5 probability, and now I've triggered the advanced wheel with only a 10 chance. What a thrill. Su-bai's heart surged with excitement, and he immediately responded, start the draw. The glittering golden roulette wheel spun rapidly, its crimson pointer whirring. It finally came to rest on a blurry patch of light. Congratulations, host. You have drawn the camouflage skill. Camouflage. Upon activation, a layer of light-based camouflage forms on the avatar's surface. This allows the avatar to merge seamlessly with its surroundings, achieving a rudimentary form of invisibility. Note the avatar can learn this skill immediately upon devouring it. Whoosh! The roulette will transformed into a white crystal and entered the storage space. After reading the description of the camouflage skill, Su-bai's heart stirred. Once the silver-scaled eel avatar masters this skill, it won't have to worry about being discovered. It can then be boldly released into rivers and lakes to forage. That would surely accelerate its evolution rate. Su-bai thought with considerable delight, immediately feeding the camouflage skill crystal into the monster space. The silver-scaled eel avatar swallowed the skill crystal in one gulp. A misty white glow began to flicker across its eel body. A few seconds later, Su-bai manipulated the avatar to activate the camouflage skill directly. A flash of silver light. The next second, Su-bai was startled to find that the massive figure had vanished from the monster space. With another thought, he deactivated the skill. The fierce 4.5 meter long silver-scaled eel immediately reappeared. This camouflage skill is enough to elude ordinary visual observation. Unless someone uses specialized instruments to probe, they definitely won't detect it. It seems this so-called rudimentary invisibility is indeed quite effective. Su-bai nodded to himself. He opened the avatar's information panel and noticed that all the data had undergone many changes. Avatar blood-eyed silver-scaled eel level 4 skills camouflage LV4 as described above. Thermal sense LV for the eyes can perceive infrared radiation emitted by biological heat. It can detect subtle changes in temperature differences. This information is then fed back to the brain, forming a thermal image in the eyes. Bite LV4 biting an enemy target inflicts tearing damage and continuous bleeding damage. Danger sense LV4 by focusing mental energy on the sensory whiskers and consuming a certain amount of mental power, one can sense the threat level of all living beings within a 25-meter radius. Talent silver scale armor LV for the body is covered with silver scales, providing considerable defensive capability. Combat power 278 evolution points 521-1000. Excellent. After evolution, the combat power has doubled. The newly acquired thermal sense combined with danger sense is enough for the avatar to detect all enemies within a 25-meter range. The camouflage skill is also a very practical tool. It seems that when the weekend break comes, I can take the avatar to explore the nearby lakes and rivers, devouring more fish and shrimp. Su-bai gazed at the silver-scaled eel avatar's information panel, silently making plans. Creak. A jolt from braking pressed him into his seat. Student Su-bai, we've arrived at Nanshan No. 3 Middle School. Tiger turned around to remind him. Su-bai snapped back to reality and looked out the car window. What met his eyes was the weather-beaten statue of Confucius at the school gate. Thank you, officer uncle, sorry for the trouble. Su-bai expressed his gratitude and pushed the door open to get out. It's no trouble, not at. Tiger replied with a smile. Before he could finish, a sudden clang interrupted his work. Tiger was shocked to see that Su-bai, simply by opening the door, had torn the entire car door off. Gulp. Tiger swallowed hard, looking from Su-bai to the door that had been ripped clean off by sheer force. The shock and awe in his heart were beyond words. Seeing this, Su-bai scratched the back of his head and gave an awkward smile. I'm really sorry, I didn't control my strength. After unlocking the first genetic lock, his strength had surged by nearly 4,000 gene. A terrifying increase of a full 2 tons, along with a massive boost to all physical attributes, left Su-bai momentarily unable to adapt to his astonishingly enhanced power. This led to the rather embarrassing situation before him. Ding-ling-ling. The bell for the end of morning self-study suddenly rang. Tiger waved his hand with a smile. It's nothing. They'll just report it for repair back at the security bureau. This car was already pretty old. Go on, hurry up and get to class. Hearing this, Su-bai felt relieved. He got out of the car. He bowed gratefully, then ran into the school. Behind him, Tiger was shocked to see that along the path Su-bai ran the hard bluestone paving bricks were stamped with footprints of varying depths. The farther the distance, the shallower the footprints. By the time Su-bai entered the gate of No. 3 middle school, the footprints had disappeared entirely. Witnessing this, Tiger clicked his tongue in amazement. Good heavens, this young man is truly remarkable. No wonder he could tear down the entire first-floor hall of Wanda Mall. If this force were applied to a person, wouldn't they be sent straight to meet their maker? Tiger withdrew his gaze and got out to inspect the damage to the car. When he reached the torn-off door, his figure suddenly froze in place. His pupils dilated to their absolute limit. In whose pupils dilated to their utmost limit, he clearly saw on the broken car door a deep sunken handprint had been pressed into the thick solid door handle. It was unmistakably the shape of Su-bai's hand. The door switch was shattered beyond recognition. The steel switch was twisted like a pretzel, with even the internal wires yanked out, dangling loosely outside. Huzi stared in utter stupefaction, his gaze slowly shifting to the fractured part of the door. The sturdy steel framework, crafted from multiple layers of steel latches and hinges, was completely pulverized. With the slightest touch, fragments of steel clattered to the ground in a heap. Gazing at the deeply sunken connection gaps on the car body, Huzi couldn't help but inhale a sharp breath of cold air. As an elite officer of the Nanshan Security Bureau, Huzi involuntarily reconstructed in his mind the process that could have led to such devastation. The moment the door was opened, a terrifying force had directly gripped the thick solid handle and ripped the entire door clean off. The astonishing strength had crushed the switch into scrap metal and left a deep handprint on the handle. This must have been how Su-bai opened the door just now. Huzi speculated silently. His Adam's apple involuntarily bobbed again. He struggled to swallow the shock and fear in his heart, striving to calm his emotions. Huzi was well aware that this police vehicle was not as old as he had told Su-bai. If it were an older model with much of the steel equipment corroded, an aged door might accidentally be torn off by someone with slightly greater strength. But the key point was that this police vehicle had actually been newly replaced just last year. Every aspect of its materials was undoubtedly top-notch. It was even equipped with bulletproof glass. The body was constructed from a blend of aluminum alloy and high-strength steel. The door itself was made of premium aluminum alloy. Such a police vehicle, costing no less than $1 million, was a top-tier chassis. To tear such a door off by sheer force, Huzi felt it would require several tons of strength at the very least. He turned his head, dazedly watching Su-bai as he walked into the campus of No. 3 High School. An ordinary senior high school student. Who could have imagined he possessed such terrifying strength? Huzi sighed inwardly. When he looked back at the battered door, a helpless, bitter smile crept onto his face. This situation meant he would have to return to the bureau and report it for maintenance. Su-bai's situation must never be revealed. How would he even explain it? With damage like this, no one would believe the truth, even if he told it. If he went back and told the logistics team that someone had ripped the entire door off just by opening it, they'd probably think he was an idiot. Sigh, what a headache. Huzi scratched his head in frustration, placed the broken door into the trunk, and drove the car back to the security bureau with the rear door gaping open. On the campus of No. 3 High School, Su-bai walked, while circulating the golden bell shield and dragon's roar iron shirt within his body, finally managing to control all his surging power. He let out a long breath and entered the small grove and greenbelt leading to the teaching building. Seeing the sturdy trees and several large rocks around him, Su-bai felt an itch in his hands. He wanted to test the power of 2 killing techniques from the dragon's roar iron shirt. Scanning around and seeing no one, he immediately activated the dragon's roar iron shirt with a thought. Merciless iron hand. With a rustling sound like wind-blown sand, Su-bai's entire right hand was instantly enveloped by a hazy, dark, misty glow. He stomped the ground and burst forward. Raising his palm, he struck fiercely at a towering tree beside him, as thick as 3 men could encircle. With a dull, explosive crash, a thunderous sound erupted. The entire massive tree shuddered violently. Su-bai slowly withdrew his right palm. He immediately saw a deep hole the size of a wash basin and fully penetrating the trunk, now gaping in the wood. Not only that, but about 2/3 of the tree's core had been shattered to powder by the terrifying force of the merciless iron hand. Yellowish wood chips and dust continuously drifted out from the hole. This single strike would have been too much for even an elephant, let alone a human. Su-bai shifted his intent. Dragon's roar iron hand. In his right hand, a dark misty light cluster resembling a dragon's head abruptly materialized. Su-bai fixed his gaze on the half-man-high boulder less than 2 meters to his right, and couldn't help but utter a low shout shatter. The moment the word left his lips, his right hand descended. A majestic, murderous dragon's roar resounded. The wash basin's eyes, black mist dragon head shot. In a flash, a blur of dark light streaked through the grove. With a thunderous explosion, the entire half-man-high boulder was blasted into a heap of rubble and dust by Su-bai's strike. The tremendous commotion made Su-bai reluctant to linger and he quickly departed. Yet his face was brimming with excitement. The power of the dragon's roar iron hand had left him thoroughly satisfied. If Liu Gang were to fight Su Bai now, this single dragon's roar iron hand would be enough to obliterate the wanted criminal on the spot. The bell rang for the first class, and Su Bai dashed into the classroom just in time.